Hello, ladies and gentlemen. The Pokopia streams will continue until morale improves. Hello, everyone. As you can tell by the Hangout label on this one, I'm going to try to talk more and turn it back into... see if we can actually make a relatively entertaining Pokopia stream while I'm still playing it. The game's pretty much let me off the leash now. Been playing it a good bit off stream. And pretty much been let off the leash. So I won't be reading out any Japanese this time. I may still have to read some. This trubbish here isn't going to leave me alone until I finish the little side quest I'm doing, I think. So I'll probably try and finish that at the start. But I'll take breaks and have a chat more frequently with people. So I was engaging mostly with the Japanese learning element of the game, but now I'm engaging with the cozy element, you know? Got a cup of tea here, so forgive me if you hear me having a sip. Thank you, Miser. Appreciate it. 10 Pokebooks. Can buy a lot of PP up with that. Is it worthy of the praise it gets online? Yeah, I suppose I can talk about it a bit more now. I'm not really the best person to say because I don't really play these types of games, you know. This one did seem a bit more appealing to me in the first place because what I would say is this is a very preliminary thought, right? I normally don't stream games the first time I'm playing them. And again, it's not my type of game, but I quite like the level design. I'm in a new area now, right? And I think for the type of game that it is, the level design is probably the thing that sets it apart because what they've done is because you have this poke-apocalyptic. You have a poke-apocalyptic world, and it means that there's all these kinds of things that are half broken down and stuff that are just sitting in the world for you to fix up, which is pretty different from the games that I've played, you know, like Minecraft or Valheim or whatever. I mean, there is little bits of that in those games, but this is on a different level. This whole area was like kind of looked like this when I arrived here, and I'm still not finished fixing it up, you know. But for me, part of the appeal of the game has just been fixing these things up, you know. It gives you a place to start working on things, and it doesn't just hand you a blank slate and say go nuts, you know. So I find something appealing about that. It's kind of relaxing just going along. Like over here, this bridge, this starting part of it was here, you know, and then there was a bit over at the end, and then you just kind of have to fill in all the tiles. It's like a coloring book or something almost, you know. Or a jigsaw puzzle, right? In a jigsaw puzzle, you buy a box and it's full of pieces, but the pieces have all been broken up and split apart from each other. So the picture is there and it's up to you to put it back together. Now this game isn't quite like that. It's not exactly a jigsaw puzzle, and I think this is part of why I say it has, why it seems to have good level design for what it is because it alternates between having these areas which are obviously supposed to be a certain way, but first of all, it never forces you to build them back the way they were, right? You have the freedom to do it your own way if you like. But then also the level designers have also clearly put in other areas that are more broken down and more ambiguous about how they were originally before the Pokeapocalypse. And that gives you freedom then and forces you to make more choices about what you're doing. So I mostly haven't fixed those areas up. I'm mostly fixing up obvious things, you know. And I don't know how long I'm going to stick with this game, but I would say this is kind of like interesting point number one in my mind about the game is that it has level design, right? There's actually a fair bit of thought put into What do we do? I was thinking, what I was wondering is, did they make a version of the map that was all fixed first and then mess it up? Because I think that's the way that I would probably approach it if I was making it, you know? And yeah, I'll give you an example. So I have these bricks. I can't make these bricks yet, so I'm nearly out of them. But we'll just pop that down there, and then we fix up that little wall, and then we can put these little things down. I thought I had some of them in my inventory. I don't, but I should make more anyway, so I'll go over and do that. And then, you know, the place is becoming more like what it should be like, you know? So I've enjoyed this area a lot more than the first area because it does have this quality of having a more obvious layout that you're supposed to fill in, you know? Also, these electrical poles are introduced, which are, I mean, I wouldn't say there's any real depth to them or anything, but you hook things up and then electric things have to be close enough to the poles in order to get electricity, which is kind of interesting. I think there's things you can put in houses, but they have to have electricity poles near them. But just like the rest of this map, there's these blocks here that suggest where all the poles should go. Now, I actually don't like where some of them go. And maybe that's intentional to try and get you to tear it up and do your own version of it or something, you know? But, yeah. I think playing it in Japanese has significantly enhanced my experience with it. It's difficult to read so much text, and you can see from the earlier streams that I'm not very good at it, you know? I was kind of getting the basic meaning of a lot of stuff, but a lot of nuance was lost on me. One of my weaknesses is not really having a good grip on verb conjugation, so I was trying to study that a little bit earlier today. And I think I picked up on some nuances that I overlooked before. There was some Pokemon, I don't know which one it was. Maybe it was a little bug guy or something. But he was saying, you know, if we become friends, I'll be glad. Ureshi, glad. But the way he phrased it was like something like, I'll probably get this wrong, but it was something like Tomodachi ni natte kureta, right? Or kurete, which the nuance of that is more like if you become friends with me, right? It's like if you will give me friendship, if I'm understanding that correctly. So there's a little bit of nuance there that the other day I would have just said, oh, if we become friends, I'll be happy. But it's more like if you become my friend, then I'll be glad, you know? But more importantly than my specific experiences, it's more just like not knowing exactly what they're saying just makes it a little bit more interesting to me, because a lot of these things would just be spoon-fed to you, you know? The Pokemon basically just tell you what they want you to do, and then you go and do it, and there's not a lot to it. But instead I'm figuring out, like, Meowth over there, and he was asking for a planter box, and then I had to put a flower in it, and I'm like, wait, what are you saying? What's that word mean? You want me to put something in something? Oh, it's a box, and then you want a flower. You want a flower that doesn't grow around here. Okay, right, I get it, you know? But there's something about this that actually kind of, to me, it conceptually lines up with the game in a way that I think works, you know? You can kind of imagine, like, I'm kind of imagining the main character doesn't really accept the fact that he's a Ditto. So, you know, maybe he can't understand other Pokemon all that well. That's how I'm role-playing it anyway, you know? I did use Anki to get a foothold on the vocabulary. That was years ago, though. I had it on my phone, and then my phone broke, and I lost it, and I just never got it back again. It was a bit of a hassle. Some people asked, I don't know if I'm the right person to ask for advice on this, because I started a really long time ago and I'm not very far into learning. You know, I don't want to undersell myself too hard. It's like in terms of hours put in, I haven't put that many hours in. But I do engage with a fair amount of Japanese media. Like I usually put audio tracks onto Japanese, but that's not really a great way of learning if you have English subtitles on, in my experience. If it was a great way of learning, I'd probably be much further along than I am, you know. The English subtitles kind of overwrite what you're listening to in your brain. You don't really absorb it, I think. Although you can pick up some things that way, you know. But when I started, I think I saw somebody mention him in the chat. I don't know if he uploads videos. I think he stopped uploading a long time ago. But there was a guy called Nama Sensei on YouTube. And he did Japanese language tutorials. He had a very crass presentation, very casual way of going about things. And I didn't watch all of his videos by a long shot. But he had one about getting started learning hiragana and katakana. And this was the best piece of advice I got starting out early, I think, was, I'll put it in his words, he said, you get a notebook and you take your katakana and you write every hiragana and katakana 50 fucking times in your motherfucking notebook. That's exactly what he said. 50 fucking times. So I got a notebook and I wrote them out. And then I went beyond that as well, because it doesn't actually take that long to write them out 50 times. I started trying to jumble them up and write them. I wrote them a lot more than 50 times, you know. But there's not that many of them, hiragana and katakana, and that gets you started with them. And like I said before, even if you should probably learn hiragana first, but if you learn katakana, you get a lot of English loan words for free. So even if you don't understand anything in a sentence, you can sometimes pick out a word and say, oh, I know what that word is just because I know English. So have you seen that video of him dumping beer on the floor, licking a shocking quantity of beer, 6 whole bags, all dedicated scholars drink this? Oh right, yeah, empty cans, you mean? Yeah, he had loads of empty cans of beer. Yeah. Then I did an Anki deck for vocabulary. I never really finished it, but you know, it's definitely convinced me that spaced repetition is very useful for learning things. And what was the last thing I did? Oh, there was another thing that I found helpful, which was a channel, again, I don't think she uploads anymore. It was a channel called Cure Dolly, C-U-R-E Dolly. And it was kind of like a VTuber. It was like an early version of a VTuber or something. But the way Cure Dolly helped was, again, I didn't watch all of her videos or anything, but the way Cure Dolly helped was she had this good way of explaining the difference between wa and ga, which is one of the early things that can really trip you up. So wa is the topic marker, and then ga is the subject marker, I think you would call it. And they're not always necessarily the same. But a lot of the times they are. And she had a good way of putting it, which was, and I don't even know if this is especially true or not. So this could be false, and I do think that one of the ways that education goes wrong is when you learn in a bad way, it's hard to undo the damage of learning in a bad way. So, you know, be cautious here. I'm not sure if this is true, but basically she said that one way to think about it is that every sentence, even if it omits the ga, every sentence has an implied ga in it. So just like if I play a game on stream and you say, how was the game, Matthew, and I say fine, right, that fine is basically a valid sentence in English. Fine. I could say fine. You understand what I mean, right? Native English, if you want to become a native level English speaker, you have to be able to answer a question like that sometimes with fine, right? But there's an implied it in the sentence. It was fine. That's the implied sentence, basically. So the similar thing happens with ga in Japanese. They very often omit what is doing the ga stuff. I feel like I'm coming a bit too loudly on the microphone. I don't know if that's true or not, but they very often omit what the ga is, but it's still there. Just think about it like it's still there, you know. So those things have that's what's helped me get to where I am, however far that is. I was learning about conjugation today, you know, just looking at videos. Anyway, I'm not really trying to accomplish anything in the game here, so think of it as like our sound hangouts, but I'm just messing around a little bit, so. Can't make these blocks yet. Learning the conjugations is good to do early. Yeah, well, I'm doing it very late, unfortunately. Late is the hour. I don't think I'll be going to the Japanese Game Awards. Is there such a thing? Oh, there is, isn't there? Yeah. Why did Pokopia speak to you to buy it? Well, Switch 2 is a new console to me, and I don't know about you guys, but when I have a new console, I want to play stuff on it. That's one reason. Another reason is to learn about cozy games and to learn Japanese. It seemed like it'd be good for that, so. Thought it might be good for this as well, you know. Having relaxed streams where I can see the chat more often. I'm always playing arcade games and stuff where I can't really see it. Oh, it seemed worth trying. I don't regret it, honestly. It's been useful. I got very fatigued the first day when I was reading, but yesterday when I was playing, I was able to play a lot yesterday, and I wasn't really getting fatigued by reading the Japanese. Now, I probably wasn't doing as thorough a job as I was in the beginning, but like I said, I think it's enhancing the game for me to play it this way, so that's kind of helping me to enjoy the process of not understanding what people are saying, you know? Seen any new Pokemon whose designs you've particularly liked? I'm kind of familiar with most of them, even if I don't know what games they were in. I don't know. Let me take a look. I got Drifloon. I don't know if I got that on stream. I think I did when I wasn't on microphone. I think that's funny because I wasn't reading it out loud then. That's another thing that's made it a bit easier for me. Reading it out loud slowed me down a lot. I was doing a lot better when I didn't have to read it out to everyone and tried to speculate on things, which increased my pace significantly. But anyway, Drifloon is pretty funny because I think if I know the lore behind that one, it like kidnaps children or something, right? So it was complaining about there being no humans around and it's saying, you know, will you search for humans with me? So I think those kinds of things are funny in Pokemon games when they have a little bit of dark humor in them about how weird the whole fucking thing is. Do you have a list of cozy games you want to get into? No. No, I should probably, if I really want to take this seriously and do more research, I should probably do something that's even more outside my wheelhouse, honestly. I don't know if people are going to disagree with me on this, but I think something like this isn't a million miles removed from something like Factorio. The difference between this and Factorio is really just that there's a bit more pressure in Factorio, you know? And part of me does... It's not even necessarily pressure exactly. There's depth as well, you know? Like, I'm not saying this game is as deep as Factorio or anything, but one thing I keep thinking is these are classified as roads, and rebuilding the roads is kind of an objective, and that's one of the most fun things to do in the game, I think. But I kind of wish that they actually accomplished something, you know, that building the road actually allowed for things to traverse the road. I mean, the Pokemon can traverse the road, and we saw in the first one, was it the very first stream? I had to build those steps because Slowpoke can't go up ledges, so I had to build steps for him in case anybody couldn't understand that. But so there's something there, you know, but I just kind of wish that it was more consequential. And that's kind of like what a game like Factorio is. It's similar things, but it's just there's more consequences to the things, you know? Oh, okay. Building roads is the only way that Pokemon will naturally go between different areas without following Ditto. That's cool. There you go. I mean, I'm early on. There's no way I could have known that yet. I don't think I have the road all the way extended in the earlier place. I got kind of annoyed building it because I don't have those edge pieces yet, so it looks like shit. Stardew is the most popular cozy game. Yeah, probably. In my experience of learning a language, reading a book or game helps you understand the flow of conversations and ideas, but doesn't help with vocab as much as you think it would. That's kind of my experience as well. The one thing I would say is the upside to doing it this way is that you do get a subset of vocab. You don't get general vocab. Your general vocabulary doesn't improve all that well. But there's been a lot of nature-related terms in this, you know, and I can't say they've all stuck. But I've got Mitsu and Tane. I didn't have those before. Nectar and seed. Kusa, grass, you know, so you learn a bunch of things that are in the same sort of category, and then if you play something else, then maybe you pause. It's funny, the sound effects were really annoying on the stream from the part that I watched back on one of the early streams. I have the volume on low, so you're not getting feedback on the TV, so I can't hear it all that well. But I was surprised how annoying and how prominent some of the sound effects came through. Wrench was complaining about that, and I saw him, but I thought most people weren't complaining, but I think he was kind of right. They were kind of annoying. I have been trying to set up that audio ducking thing. I think I have it going properly now, but I'm not sure. It doesn't seem like you can set the difference up to be as big as I would like. I would like it to come down. I would like it to go higher when I'm not talking and then come down lower when I, you know, just to have a bigger range. But anyway. I haven't been to Japan. No, I'd like to go, but I haven't gone. If you were to collab with an indie developer in some manner to make another game, which developers would interest you to work with? There's a few. But I try not to get involved with people, you know. So I like to maintain my independence from people. Setting that aside, hypothetically, I'm not sure. I'm thinking about people who I respect and people like who do I respect the most? Who do I think I would have the most to learn from? But also who would I actually collaborate best with? And I don't know. I don't know. You tell me. I'm flipping this one around on the chat. Who would you like to see me collaborate with? Who do you think? Let's ask it. Let's ask it twice instead. Okay, so who do you think? Who would be your dream collaboration? Do you think that I would contribute well with, that you think could learn the most, or that I could contribute the most to? Say learn the most. What's anybody going to learn from me with so little experience, you know? Kami is not an indie developer, fellas. Yeah, I mean, those suggestions are more or less the kinds of, some of them at least, are the kinds of things that the people that I respect probably the most in the indie scene. Some of my favorite indie developers that I would be more open to collaborating with. I wouldn't do it, partly I'm not doing it for their sake. You know what I mean? But partly I don't reach out to people for their sake, not my own sake. But people like Lucas Pope or Hempoli, Zachtronics, obviously. I think Weirdly, I don't know if I would want to actually collaborate with Jonathan Blow, but I think I would be fairly happy to work for him. You know what I mean? I think I would probably. I mean, he's not going to collaborate with anyone. Most of these people aren't going to collaborate with anyone anyway. But I think that might be too stubborn. Might be too stubborn for that. Trying to think who else. The guy who made Animal Well, I don't know if you're suggesting him again. There's a lot I appreciate about that. I think it's cool that he made his own engine. I really respect that it's got a really small file size and stuff. Thought for a one-man project it's fantastic. But the actual game itself I didn't like all that much, to be honest. But that doesn't necessarily mean anything, because the next game he makes might be different, you know? But it's, if you've been following what I've been saying recently, I've been talking about secrets and stuff, it shouldn't really come as a surprise that it wasn't really my cup of tea. Animal Well. But I respect it a lot. I respect it, so I don't want to talk any shit. You can almost find out which indie developers are using their own engine by checking the file size of the game on your Switch or on Steam or whatever, you know. My game is not as small as it could be. It's bigger than it needs to be for some reason. I think maybe I've an include in there that doesn't need to be there or something. I'm not sure exactly what's happening there with that, but yeah, that's one of the things I'm kind of tempted to do, but is go back to Logic Bombs and try to figure that out and make it even smaller, because it should be smaller than it is. I think it's only like 20 megabytes, but it should be smaller than it is. So I'm not sure why. What engine was used for your game? Nothing. Well, I use STL, which does a lot of the really horrible stuff, so you can almost consider STL an engine, except I don't use the STL renderer, I use OpenGL. So it's my own little renderer, and all it does is render. Basically, for Logic Bombs, all it does is render quads. That's it. Doesn't really do anything else. Yeah, somebody said Jonathan would be a harsh boss, but that's good. That's why I would want to, or that's why I would be okay working that. First of all, I'd probably be paid really well. Based on how much he complains about paying people, I'd probably be paid really well. And I could use a few years of well-paying work, but also you'd probably learn a lot as well. So that's fine by me. I don't know. I don't think I would have... The problem there is I don't think I would have the skill. Like, I'd be fired. I'd probably be fired after 3 months, you know, but they'd be a well-paying 3 months. Part of the problem with answering this question is these are all people who have done better than me, and I'd basically, as I am now, unless I find something that I'm very good at as part of a team, then I'd basically just be riding on their coattails, I think, you know, whether it's any of the people that I named. And it's like some of them want to be alone. I imagine Billy Basso and Lucas Pope will probably do their next game solo as well, because why wouldn't you? If you can make something like that by yourself, why wouldn't you just keep going by yourself? It's liberating, you know, doing things by yourself. That's why you gotta lower your standards to David Cage collab, yeah. Ever thought about making some lowest possible effort shitpost game? I don't want to make a shitpost game, but I am still trying to think of things that are low effort and good. I have one vague idea for a game that would be very, very low effort. But could maybe be slightly unique. Slightly. And not really, but a little bit. No, it wouldn't really be unique, but be very low effort. But I don't know. I mean, that alone makes me skeptical that there's any way to do it in a way which actually means that you can look back on it in a few years and say, actually, that was good. That's worth playing and putting out there, you know? So, I don't know. There is something that I actually try not to reflect on this too much because I might never stream again if I really absorb this point. But there's still a contradiction between even doing these streams and the way I approach pretty much everything because I'm concerned about putting out stuff that's worth people's time. That's good, you know? And I understand that maybe there's a certain value in this off-the-cuff stuff and just hanging out that you can't get any other way, you know? But at the same time, I also think it's a little strange. Partly because the streams get archived. I know I'd never hear the end of it if I turned that setting off. I know I'd never hear the end of it and people will be very upset, but I would almost be more, I would be more comfortable streaming if it wasn't, because it's just like the idea that you do a stream and it's just this little hangout thing, but then it goes up and it's 4 hours and it's, you know, how many years back on the channel would you have to go to add up to 4 hours of content? Granted, the channel wasn't what I was working on for years, so, but even if we go back to something, like even if we start at meta micro videos when I was still, the channel was still my focus, right? Did I even put out 4 hours that year? I don't know. Obviously, I'm proud of the, whatever it was, 2, maybe 3, it might have been 4 hours, maybe, that year. I think it was a good 4 hours, right? But, I don't know. So I just don't gravitate towards low effort stuff, but, you know, maybe that's a me problem. The problem is that I can't, I want to still make games, but currently I just can't commit to doing anything even the size of Logic Bombs right now. My time horizon is too short. My situation is not good enough to run that risk, you know? Run the risk of going a year and having nothing at the end of it. It's just not really a risk I can take right now, so. But I still want to make games, you know? So is there something I could do in a smaller time frame? I don't know. Yeah, of course people distinguish between a video and a stream. You kind of know what you're in for, and that does make a difference, but at the same time, I think we, like to put it bluntly, I think we just live in a world where people are, the word slop is getting used a lot, you know, but people are engorging on a lot of slop, and there's a lot of excuses as to why that's okay. You know, you can make up as many excuses as you want as to why that's okay. And I don't really want to, don't think we need to add any more excuses to that pile, you know what I mean? Yeah, we're getting into a nice flow with the game here. I wasn't really thinking about what I was doing there. So this gameplay is going to be very boring to watch. Just tidying up here and there. Yeah, Matthew Matosis goes broke, yeah. some people do consider libraries like STL or GLFW as an engine just on the basis that they do provide input, render, and even if bare bones and capture events. Yeah, yeah, STL does the audio for logic bombs as well. And GBDK, I use GBDK for the Game Boy stuff. So you can call those engines if you want. I don't know. It's an arbitrary distinction. I mean, there is kind of no such thing as an engine, right? Because there's always a game built on top of the engine. I don't know. But yeah, that's understandable to me. So I don't know. I want to. I'm not. I don't think I would go very deep with it, but I do want to do more of my own little bits of technology and stuff. It's just something that I like doing. I don't know. I was talking about this before in relation to AI. I was thinking about that afterwards, after that stream. I was thinking, was there anything else I wanted to say on that? And I don't know for sure. I was talking about how it's just not the way I do things, so I'm just not interested in it, you know? Even if there's no ethical concerns and tomorrow they say you can just you can just say what game you want, speak it into the speakerphone, and you get your game out, I think I would still want to know what's going on with the code and all that kind of stuff. Part of the reason I'm interested in it is, I'm not saying this is the only way to make a game, right? Part of the reason why I'm playing this right now is because it's not good to be single-minded about anything, I think, right? You want to try and at least understand what other people find interesting or whatever, right? But part of the reason I'm interested in programming and why the programming is what I do, because I could have picked up whatever field, or I could have at least tried to apply myself to other fields, knowing that I wanted to make games from a young age. I could have said, well, I better pick up a pencil and start learning how to draw, but I didn't. I thought, I'm going to learn what goes on with the computer, and part of the reason for that is because that's what the game is made of, really, you know? Behind the scenes, the game is made of the code, at least in my mind. I mean, it's made of everything. The graphics all matter and stuff as well, but without the code, there's no game, you know? And so it's not enough for me to just talk to an AI and say, hey, I have this game and these are the parameters and stuff. It's like, I want to know what that code is and whether or not I can learn anything or do anything with that code. Because part of it is finding inspiration that you didn't know. I think this is a thing that people are overlooking about AI, is that going through the process of creating something, it's not, you don't have it fully formed in your head from day one. Even if you feel like you do, you might think, actually, you might think that you have your ideal game in your mind, right? And all you need, if the AI can just one-shot the game, then that's it. I've got my ideal game and it's all over and I don't need to care about any of that other stuff. But actually, the picture that you think you have of the thing you want to make in your mind is not complete. There's some kind of delusion that I know I've suffered from it, and I think many people suffer from it, where you think you actually have the full game in your head, but you don't even have a fraction of it. And you only realize the parts that you are missing in your imagination as you go and make it, you know? And maybe I talked about this before, but like a very simple example would be in Logic Bombs. I'm like, it's such a simple thing, right? But this took, I don't know, this took hours at least hours to program it, right? It was just, okay, we have this game and we know all the rules of the game and all the important stuff about the game and blah, 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 blah. But what does the cursor look like? How does the cursor respond to user input? What do I want to do there? What can I do there? What's technically possible for me? What's within my reach? What's not going to cost me too much time but still seems good? You know, I'm talking about the Game Boy version here, right? If you're thinking about the PC version, you're thinking about just a little cursor icon, right? But the Game Boy version, the cursor is kind of more elaborate and more important because that's what you're using. You don't have a mouse, right? That took hours. Like, it took hours to try different ideas, to figure out what works or what doesn't, to program it and then to revisit it later after using it for a while and say, actually, this part is off. Like I remember there was a problem that persisted for a while. You know, I kind of said, this is good enough for now and I'll work on other things and I'll come back to this. But it still wasn't quite right, because when you press the button, it kind of had this delay because it was waiting for the next animation cycle to start before it sped up. So I'm like, that's not good enough. It has to immediately start moving faster when you hit the button. Otherwise, it doesn't feel like good feedback. So you got to go in and do that. And you know, when you're doing that with Game Boy code, you're doing that in C with like no memory and no nothing. That's a bit of a challenge. There's a little bit of a challenge there. And that's just one tiny little adventure for the cursor of a logic puzzle game. So if you think you have a more complicated game than that in mind and that it's fully formed, you really don't. And that's why the AI is not going to get you all the way there, you know. I think people will say, well, the AI can, you know, you can go through that process with the AI. Maybe. I think that remains to be seen, personally. I don't think that should be a given, but also I'm skeptical that that's actually true. I think there's something about having to do the work yourself that makes you think about it a bit more deeply. I might as well just break all these blocks. So many of them are broken and there's loads of grass there. I'll just put them all down. Yeah, so I don't know how I got onto that topic. That's what I don't know how I got onto that. It's the thing, this happens to me all the time when I'm streaming. I'm trying to make sure that I'm saying something interesting and then I just forget how we got started on this or what I was supposed to say. But the hope is that I said something worthwhile in the end, you know? Yeah, design docs I've never written one myself. But yeah, you have to be very precise with them, you know? That's the whole idea. Because some programmer has to come along and take that as that you understand all the nuance, you know? Kojima did learn some programming. I don't think he was a programmer originally, but he talked about that for Snatcher. He learned some programming so that he could set things up the way he wanted to. It's not necessarily what you have to do as a designer. It's like Sakurai has a video about it called Parameter Power, where he talks about, it's basically the direction that he gives to his programmers is, you know, I want a lot of dials and knobs and buttons and things that I can tweak on my end to ensure that I can get the feel out of this that I want. And then the bonus, he said, from that, the bonus of doing that is that in the end, it's easy to make alternate versions of things, like the multiple warp stars that they have in Kirby and stuff, you know. So yeah. What happens a lot for me is I'll get the basic gameplay concept put together and realize it isn't actually that fun. Yeah, this is partly why I said that I'm not embarking on another game yet. And something that I'll probably say again on the Patreon, if the time comes, you know, that I'm spending time on game development again. But basically, the goal for me is not to try to make a specific thing, it's to make something good. You know, that's how I got the logic bombs, and it was a very meandering path, but there are much, much worse things that I could have made, you know? And that's the process that that's the mentality that I would want to have again, is rather than trying to get to a specific thing, I just want to make sure that I make something good. And unfortunately, the first thing that you try is not guaranteed to be that thing. So, part of my hesitancy to jump back into game development right now is just the anticipation that it's not going to be a straight path, you know? At least what I don't want is I don't want to say, here's the game I'm making and that's that, and it comes out whether it's good or bad, because I don't want to put something out that I don't believe in, you know? critic making thing actually working out is near unprecedented. Yeah, well, I know a lot of you think that Logic Bomb's worked out, but not everyone thinks that, I'm sure. You know, it's a matter of opinion. I'm glad that a lot of people do think it worked out, though. Yeah, it's the same thing, Mirage. It's the same thing with Mario 64. They just had a level where Mario chased Mips the rabbit around, and they made sure that that felt good before they committed to it, you know? There's, I mean, an alternate term for this, it's more or less the same approach, but I've seen it called the Cerny approach, because this is what Mark Cerny would advocate for when he was helping a bunch of Sony teams back in the day, is just to not focus on building the game right away, but to prototype something small and then work on it until it's fun, to make sure that the game is actually worth making, you know? And apparently that was very helpful for those teams as well. I think it's not the only way a game can be made, though. There's definitely games that have been made where somebody has an idea and they just keep at it until they make it work, you know? And I would love to be in a position to do that as well, you know? To try that approach, because there's certainly games that I have in mind that I think, like Procyon, I haven't really talked about it, you know? But I want to make that game work. I think that it would be ambitious in a certain way, and ambitious things have a way of not working, you know? So I could see, like, I don't think you could prototype that very quickly and understand that. I suppose that's what I'm getting at, is in my mind, a prototype of Procyon would need to be, in order to really assess the game, it would need to be a huge core element of the game made, which would probably take at least a year by itself. So that's tough, you know? But then after that year, then you've got the guts of a game made, and I think it would be a very good game, but who knows? Who knows? Yeah, games that are not supposed to be fun. Yeah, there's that. You must be driving at something, though, you know? You must have some goal you want to accomplish with the game, and maybe your game doesn't accomplish that very well. The Japanese isn't going great, honestly. I haven't spent that much time with it, so I'm nowhere near as far along as I'd like to be, but that's what we're rectifying a little bit with Pokopia, so grateful for the opportunity. I'm glad some people enjoyed the streams as well. I know they weren't for everybody, but that's what it is. Maybe I'll leave that bit of grass there. That kind of looks nice. Maybe I'll even put another row down. If I have any. That way the path only goes up to the door. We get a little bit of grass there. I remember listening to an interview of a Retro Studios dev talking about how Nintendo didn't get game design docs and instead wanted pitches to be game demos. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there was a video not so long ago of the Donkey Kong Bonanza demo that they made, which was just a Goomba or something. They started it off with a Goomba. So, like, they don't care about... They retrofit the character and the thing onto the gameplay, which is really how it should be. I think I remember seeing years ago that at Platinum, they want you to have some artistic skill to do the design docs. They want you to be able to draw little things and stuff into the design docs so you can get your ideas across. Which, that rules me out, you know? But, yeah. It's probably how Kamiya does it because he's kind of got an art background, I think. Where are the bollards? Oh, we can't make any because we got no rope thingies, no vines. Must have some. No. Oh yeah, you can pull stuff from the boxes. So what is it? Vines I need? Tsutahimo. Tsutahimo. I think, oh yeah, one of these guys makes it. Is this it? Oh. No. I think maybe in the first biome there's a guy that makes them. I'll go back and take a look. Let's see if you can hear that. That's a Snorlax. That's in a cave. That's the little quest that I have to do, is to wake him up. Is this Tsutahimo? Tsutahimo. You've seen the ROM hack for Mario 64 that is time trials for the levels but in different orientations? I haven't. There might be cause to find out the ingredients that make games fun first, then have your idea satisfy all requirements. Your recent theory videos have been a great start to this, in my opinion. I'm glad you like them. I would say that that's not really how... That's not how I want those videos to be used, I think. I get where you're coming from, and I think that maybe they can be helpful in that way. But... let's say I have ideas in those videos that I myself, it depends on the idea, you know, but I'm more or less interested in following some of them than others. And I think it's too restrictive, especially if I keep making them, right? I don't know how many there would be in the end before I said that's enough, but probably at least 8, you know? Again, I don't know if I'll ever make another one, you know, but we'll see. I never know. Until something's done, I never know, because so many things just don't work out. But it's just too many requirements, you know? We're only at 3 videos right now, but it's just too many requirements, and that's too restrictive, and that's not how I want things to be necessarily. But obviously they are things that I think that developers should keep in mind. The point is not to always take them as rules to always be followed, but rather to know what it is I'm talking about, so that if you decide to do the opposite, you at least realize that you're doing the opposite, right? You at least realize the implications of what you're doing. Like, for example, if you allow your game to have a load of aesthetic deception in it, I want you to at least understand that the player is going to be a lot less trustworthy of what they see, and that may result in them not wanting to engage with the game in certain ways because they've lost that trust in the, you know, the aesthetic elements of the game, right? That's something you should at least know if you're making the game. That's really what the videos are for. Yeah, I won't read your whole comment there, but there certainly was a strong reception to the um, aesthetic deception video from some people. I anticipated that. I especially anticipated that the thing about Coyote Time would have some pushback. I think it got more than I expected, but I still did expect that that was probably going to be a part that set people off. Yeah, people kind of jump to conclusions about what I'm saying, you know. I've seen some people say, and this is not really a golden rule that you can take for granted or whatever, but I've seen some people say that the video was too prescriptive, right? It decides too much about what a game should or shouldn't be. But I've also seen people say that the video says nothing, right? It doesn't have any prescription at all. And so when you're getting both those pieces of feedback, part of me thinks that maybe that's a good thing, you know, that maybe I did land in the right place. It's kind of like with Logic, there's an equivalent with Logic Bombs, is that some people complain the game ramps up too slowly at the start, and some people complain it ramps up too fast, you know? And I honestly think it's been a pretty even split for the game. So, like, what am I meant to take from that? If it's a perfectly even split in the kind of feedback that I'm getting, then it means that I probably got it about right in my mind, you know? But it's very hard to gauge. Like, for example, these recent Pokopia streams have been an example where there's some people that tuned into the one I did yesterday, which is just me with no microphone playing a game in Japanese that most of my viewers, let's face it, are not interested in. But even so, there was some people that really enjoyed it, right? And this is why companies have these things where, you know, they're analyzing the statistics and stuff, because the statistics don't lie, and they don't, I don't know, like, what else are you meant to do, you know? Because people give you feedback in all sorts of directions, so it can be very hard to parse that way. So, yeah. It was too scattershot in my opinion. I've watched it 3 times and I still don't know what you were going for with the bit about animal consciousness or whatever. I suppose it's been long enough that I can talk about it a bit, so bear in mind that I spent months trying to get the script right, so I'm speaking here off the cuff and I'm not going to be as eloquent, and I may say things that I come to regret here off the cuff, right? So just please bear that in mind and take the video as the final source. You all promise, right? If you all promise, say yakusoku suru in the chat, okay? Yakusoku suru. That's your promise, okay? There's a couple of reasons to do it. I mean, it's a little bit hard to break down the full reason for it, but one major reason to do it, the first thing that got me thinking along these lines, right? The first thing that got me thinking along these lines, which was not even necessarily the main reason why it got included, but it's the reason why the topic sprung to mind, is because I was thinking about scenarios exactly like what we were just talking about, where if you imagine people take these videos very seriously, right? And they say, well, you know, I agree with him actually. And I think now that I agree with him, I think that aesthetic deception is always something that should be minimized. He was right. Like, if they say he's right, we have to make sure that this game has an absolute, the bare minimum amount of aesthetic deception that we can get away with, right? If you start thinking about it that way, then you may be tempted to, you may think that it's therefore necessary to instantiate consciousness within the creatures that you depict in your game to minimize the amount of aesthetic deception. So for me, I thought it's important that I explain that that's not the case, or at least it's not, or at least it's not what I'm arguing for, right? If you want to say that I'm just not going far enough with the aesthetic deception, at least on your head be it, right? It's not my fault that you're going to go and do this. I wanted to make that explicitly clear. I was worried about the long-term consequences of that. Because basically what would have happened if such a scenario came to pass, what would have happened is the video, if it was taken seriously and was influential in some way, right? It only needs to be influential on one developer who goes and makes a very popular game for it to have a big impact. Then that's my fault then, that, or at least it traces back to me. Maybe it's not my fault exactly because I didn't mean it, but that traces back to me. And then that, if you create creatures that are conscious and they're in a game, the types of things that go on in games tend to lead to a lot of suffering, right? So that means that a huge amount of conscious suffering is generated, which is not a scenario that I'm advocating for. Now, I am skeptical that we will ever actually figure out what makes anything conscious or not. I just don't see what the answer to that question is going to be. And so therefore it's possible that there actually is some low level of consciousness in any system that processes information in some way. I think I've heard that there's a theory for that called integrated information theory or something. There's lots of different theories about consciousness, like panpsychism and stuff like that. So we just don't know, right? And I didn't want that on my head, but I think it also serves, this is maybe the more important point, like this is probably the more important reason to include it, other than just trying to absolve myself of any like wrongdoing in an important problem. But another reason to do it is because it illustrates the fact that there are things that we do take for granted about games that are not real, right? That the game itself is, like I said I'll just repeat what I said in the video. The games take place in the world of imagination, metaphor, allegory, or whatever other term you'd like to use. Because I was verging on saying that the game is not real there, which is not what I meant, right? What I need to say now is, for my own sake, what I'll say is there's another thing that I want to bring up, which is that I think one way that people don't understand the video, or that one of the reasons that there was disagreement about the video, which if I did a revised version of it, I might spend more time trying to address or something, or that I'll try and keep in mind for future videos. Maybe there'll be a better opportunity to address this in another theory video. If I'm lucky, it doesn't need to go in the aesthetic deception video, and it's actually better off somewhere else anyway. The video points to this notion, but it doesn't actually try to instill the notion in anybody who doesn't already believe it. So it's there in the video, but you kind of have to look for it, which is maybe something about it that's not ideal. The point is that the reason why some people agree with me completely about the Nier Automata thing, right? And they think that the ending, they also had this problem with the ending where it didn't have an impact on them because they saw through the deception that was happening as it was happening, which is what happened with me. I don't think I actually explained this in the video. That was probably cut, but this was in my script originally where I said that, for me, I saw through it as it was happening, right? So that moment didn't have any impact on me, because how am I supposed to, like, when I can see that the mechanics don't work and it doesn't make any sense, why would I get emotional over this, okay? Now, I would hope that there's enough evidence out there, like from streams and just from the way I talk about games, that I do try to engage with games in good faith and try to approach them in the way that the developers want them to be played. So it's not like I said, actually on the recent Pokopia stream, I don't go out of my way to break games when I play them. I'm not looking to get upset. I'm not trying to go against them, okay? I'm really not. I'm trying to say, what do you have to show me? I'll try and do it, okay? But it just didn't work for me because I just couldn't switch my brain off to that point. I couldn't um uh I couldn't I couldn't pretend that it was something that it wasn't for me. Okay, there's some people that agree with me on that, and there's other people that say something like it's more like a film. Okay, it's like a film where the actors on a set and none of it is real, and you're supposed to get invested in the film. Blah blah blah. Of course, I can understand where that argument comes from. Okay, but I don't know if I'm ready to totally bring the hammer down on this judgment yet, right? But the way I would phrase it right now is maybe I'll come up with a more sophisticated rendering of this at some point in the future. But the way I'll phrase this right now is this is actually a fundamental difference between games and films in that the film is totally fake, okay? Everything about it is fake. In the game, something in the game is real. There is actually a real thing in a game, right? Or at least if it's not real in the sense that Trico himself is not a real creature, okay? We all understand that. But the game itself has a reality to it because it's a system. It's a system that interlocks with itself in a certain way that creates this sort of like, because every game has to stand up by itself, right? It creates this real thing. And for some of us, when we're engaging with games, we're engaging with that real thing. That's part of why we love games instead of other things, because there's a system that we're being shown. We're being shown a system that behaves a certain way. And this actually ties into some of the things that I was saying about The Last Guardian in the past, like versus Atreus in the God of War game, is that like, again, Trico's not real, right? But there's a system to Trico, which, yeah, they probably cheat in a few places. I don't know exactly where all the cheats happen and all that, right? But there's also a reality to him. They went to the effort of creating this kind of reality to him where he navigates the environment and squeezes in through all those little things and gets distracted and all that kind of stuff. Something about that is kind of real, okay? That's what I'm getting at. So I don't want to say that the game is not real, but that ties into what I was saying earlier. Anyway, there you go. Whether I clarified or obfuscated the point remains to be seen. I haven't been able to read the chat while I'm trying to get that point across. So let me try to go back. I assume you were being facetious, Somersault, but I don't know, man. You got to think. You have to think long term and in big ways, because computers can run a lot of things. So if you run simulated consciousnesses, there's the opportunity there to run trillions of things and stuff. It's just, that's a big risk, So I felt it was something that I couldn't shake out of my mind. Let me put it that way. I don't know. I do think that some people, I think I talked about it before on a stream. There's a movement called effective altruism, and I think people take that too far in a lot of ways. So I don't want to worry about it too much. But I don't know. I didn't want it on my head, Soz says, I think the near thing was just a simple way to be impactful for almost everyone. Maybe they didn't have a better solution at the time. The question that I ask is there even a better solution? Like, this is the kind of the point I'm getting at, is people want to sort of be charitable and say, well, maybe they just couldn't pull off what they were hoping to do, or maybe it, my point is that we have this thing that the game is trying to show you, right? The game is trying to show you something, but actually the game is also demonstrating that the thing it's trying to show you doesn't work. So that creates a bit of a problem. Even when we watch films, part of what you enjoy about a film is the way it represents reality in some way, right? It's not always what you enjoy about a film, but it pulls you in and it makes you think something about reality. It shows you something that you believe is plausible, that you believe is interesting, that sparks your imagination. You know, like the system that they showed in the game demonstrated that it was self-refuting. You know what I mean? Like, it self-refutes. That's kind of the problem. I don't take it for granted that there was some way they could have done it, because they didn't show me that. If they show me that, great. But if they can't show me that people will cooperate when it costs them something, then why should I take it for granted? Like, you're not showing me anything. You're telling me that this is how I should feel about my fellow man or something. But why should I believe you? Like, you had a chance to demonstrate that through a system and you didn't take it. So maybe you don't even believe that this actually works. That's part of the problem for me. Do they believe it works? Like, if they believed it would work, then why didn't they create a system where it does work? Also, I forget did I say this yet, but I found out something while I was doing that and it didn't make it into the video. But if you sit around, I sat around for ages. I might upload a video of this because I have footage of it. If you sit around for ages, yeah, sorry, by the way, Saz, I didn't mean to. Sometimes I get heated and I was coming on a bit strong there and I didn't mean to come across like I'm attacking you or anything like that. So sorry, I love games, man, and I get a bit rowdy. I get a bit rowdy about games, you know, so apologies for that. I absolutely nothing against you. I know, like, I mean, I recognize you've been around here a bunch, and it doesn't look like you took it badly or anything, but I'm just saying. Sorry for getting heated. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, I found out if you sit around on that screen, once you lose 100 files, it just says, I forget the exact wording. I think it says someone's data was lost. So from that point forward, it doesn't even show you names anymore. It just says someone's data was lost. Someone's data was lost. Someone's data was lost. And what I was thinking of including this in the video, but I didn't because I tried to keep them tight. But I wanted to put that on screen and show you that it's showing, say, someone's data is lost. Who is this someone? Can I see them? It's like, you know, Principal Skinner with the hamburgers, right? Can I see them? May I see it? Where's the Aurora Borealis? May I see it? Someone's data was lost. May I see it? Can you tell me whose data was lost? Right? It's obviously all just bullshit. Everybody knows this, but yeah, I don't know. I don't think you should spend so much time in your videos preempting bad fate readings of them, though. I don't feel like I feel like there is some of that goes on in the theory videos, but I don't feel like it's especially bad personally. I could understand if you disagree. I do think for what they are, it's just, to me, it is a bit of an unfortunate fact that some of that is necessary, because the point is to try and create some kind of, like, I don't know, some kind of monument that stands up and that people can return to and fully parse the meaning of and understand, and doesn't have ambiguity to it, you know, and or at least has as little ambiguity as is reasonably possible. So I think some of that is necessary in the theory videos. It kind of frustrates me that it is necessary, but I think they could be a hell of a lot worse on that, personally. Like, there is definitely things that I've omitted because I think if somebody tries to attack it in this way, they're just being stupid, you know? But yeah. I mean, I advocate for that as well when you're making videos, is not to try and get too hung up on people who are coming at it from a bad angle, but yeah. It's the type of video that it is, you know? I was laughing at your comment there, Freeze, yeah. An end credits shoot 'em up sequence at this time of day. Localized entirely offline on your console. And you have 5 cooperators. So another thing that bugs me a little bit about it is they actually block you from getting help unless you are online, which is just... See, that's part of what shows them trying to be deceptive about it, you know? Have you ever played Sky Child of Light game by any chance? The game is basically focused almost entirely on player interaction. No spoilers, but the ending has something very similar to Nier Automata. I have played it. I don't actually remember the ending. I have played it though. I think I have footage of it as well. This reminds me of a funny story. This is a total tangent, right? But I told you all when I was talking about the Duskbloods the other day that I like weird multiplayer things, right? So I played Sky, the Tomorrow Children. You know, I don't play nearly as much as I would like, but I'm interested in multiplayer games that are a little bit like, I like games where you cooperate, where you play. This is something I think Miyazaki himself said years ago about Demon's Souls, where you play and there's other people around, but you don't necessarily have to play with them, you know? Like for the Tomorrow Children, I thought that actually led to a really nice amount of like a feeling of isolation, because I would basically just go off to these islands and just mine them and do that kind of logisticsy stuff while there was other people back in the town and blah blah blah. So you felt really alone then, because the setting also is just this big white void. So I like weird multiplayer games, and what I was thinking was, you know, I've never really played an extraction shooter, you know. So I thought, I gotta try this, and I thought, well, maybe I'll try Marathon, right? I thought there was some kind of Marathon free trial, because part of what goes through my mind is I said that I captured footage of Sky because I don't know if the servers for that will go down or whatever. I think I have footage of that somewhere. And it was a big regret of mine that I didn't capture footage of the Tomorrow Children back in the day, right? So I thought, well, Marathon is here, and it seems like Marathon is dying. It seems like Marathon's not going to be around much longer, and I haven't played an extraction shooter, so I can kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I can do this, and I can get footage of a game that I may not be able to get footage of anymore in the future as well. So they had a free trial on PSN a while back, right? Free trial. I thought, okay, great. I'll download Marathon and I'll give that a go. And then I remembered that in order to play the free trial of the game, you have to have... Hello, my microphone came unplugged. No, it unplugged. The cable must be loose because... Fucking falling apart here, fellas, because the A button on my laptop keyboard doesn't work properly anymore either. I have to press, sometimes I have to press it several times. I don't know if there's something caught under it or what, but it's one of those keyboards that you can't easily check under. And this, apparently now the cable on this microphone is going. What I was about to say before I was so rudely interrupted was, you have to have PSN in order to play the free trial. Sony, you own the fucking platform. Do you want to think about this for a second? Like, maybe if you have a free trial of your game, your online game, maybe you don't actually have to have PS Plus before you can play the free trial to find out if you want to have PS Plus to play the fucking game online. Do you think maybe this contributes a little bit to the reason why Marathon is fucking dying? Just a little bit. Fucking joke. I am back now, right? Yeah, I reckon I'm back. I'm back. Yeah, they're not easy to clean, but I suppose I should try it. But usually to clean it, I just turn it upside down. Is that the norm? I don't know, man. It crashes all the time randomly as well. I don't really want to shake it around any more than I have to, you know? What was it? I was looking to make more of these, but I've got no metal. Who is it? This guy makes metal. No, not you. Monday night. Monday night. What is it? Is that him? No. Where the fuck? Oh, he's over here. Jumbo Hakase ni Kabigon no Okoshikata o. Kabigon must be big sleepy guy. What's his name again? Snorlax. Kabigon no Okishikata, way of waking. O Kiki ni Iku ze. So we want to go and listen. Yeah, go listen. Oh, I did not play Marathon. I was going to capture footage of it during that free trial. I figured, why not, you know? Give it a shot. Free trial, get some footage. Never know when it might come in handy. Talking about dead games or something, you know? Must be a way to get vines to get them, you know? Can I plant things that grow vines and then get them that way? Or I think there's some back in the first biome. I'll just go back and partly the enjoyment of a game like this is trying to do what makes sense as the next step. You know, to do something relatively efficient with your time. At least that's part of the appeal to me. To do some dandori, you know? But we're only streaming here. We're supposed to be having a hangout, so try not to worry about it too much. What is this? Kabe. Where's Kabe? Renga. Renga must mean brick. Renga no Kabe. Fix this thing up on the way out. It's slipping off screen now. Somebody asked about, maybe it was an art documentary or something. I haven't seen that, sorry. Look at this one. This one's wrong. What's going on here? Is there something hidden in here? No. I understand it, but some of the ways that the game world is broken are very arbitrary. I get it though. It would be boring if all they ever did was just delete half of a building and make you fill in the other half, so sometimes the blocks are just kind of mixed up. I don't know, maybe that should be a little shrine or something. But the bare rock wall behind it looks kind of ugly. I suppose it's supposed to... Okay, what I'll do is I'll delete these. And then I'll just put these in here. And then I'll... It's supposed to look like a stand or something. Like a support. So we'll get rid of this. Let's just delete this one. Breaking other things here, but whatever, we'll fix it back up. Figured out how to sort things, by the way, as well. That took me like 3 days. That's down the bottom. The brackets means hold. I don't know how to say it, but it means hold. It's long press. Actually, I can read the kanji. It means long press, doesn't it? Long press. That's how they say hold. Something like Nagatoshi, maybe? Something like that. Or Oshi. I'm not Nagatoshi. It's my best guess for that one. Talking about dead games has me think about Anthem. I never played that. Never had a chance to play Concord. I mean, I do kind of wish I had footage of Concord. You know, it's mad because I don't know if I'd ever use it, but it's just... I don't know that I don't think I actually mourn the loss of Concord itself, you know, but I wish I had footage of it in case I ever need it. It's just something that stuck with me from that Tomorrow Children thing, because like it would have been so handy to have that for the Death Stranding video, you know. It just would have been able to illustrate my points a lot better. Yeah, that's looking pretty good now. I suppose I want to fill all this up with brick. It doesn't really matter what's behind it. Use mouse mode and see whether it's... Can use mouse mode, which is pretty good. Can I actually place blocks up here with it? Nice. Granted, I haven't used it much. I've only used it in this, and I haven't even tried it in Star Fox. I have Star Fox as well. I haven't tried it in that. Oh, why am I doing this on? I have the mouse. There we go. I've only really used it in this, and what's that other one we were playing? The Switch Welcome Tour, you know? But it's pretty good. The mouse, it's surprisingly good. I think I was using that on my leg. It felt surprisingly smooth. The hotbar is an item you can enable and disable it. Yeah, I was wondering what that was. I figured that's what it is. The little pack down the bottom. I figured it must be something special. Itsudemo. Right, that means like... Sabu... Maybe that means manual or something? I don't know. Oh, there it is. Waga... Waza. Why is it saying L when L... What happens if I put something in here? Oh, okay. Cool. Alright, I'm not going to use that just yet. But maybe I'll use that when I go into the next region. I hope the next region is similar to this one in that it has a lot of stuff to fill in. Because the first region is very cramped by comparison. You know, it was pretty fun. It was the most fun I've had with the game was off stream when I came in here and I was just putting up all these electrical poles and filling in the roads and stuff. Yeah, I had items in it before, yeah. How's the Star Fox remake? Oh, finally! It hasn't rained since it was raining for about 10 minutes when all that rain happened before, but I was pissed, man, when the rain stopped. I was enjoying the rain. Hang on, where's the remote? I'm gonna put the sound up on the TV. You might get some feedback, but I want to enjoy this a little bit. It's pretty satisfying watching the rain fix up all the ground and stuff. Hang on, let me change the audio for you. I'm gonna boost the game audio, it may get a bit too loud. We'll just do this for a minute, okay, fellas? Moved to Tokyo 5 months ago, practicing Japanese through games as well. I don't know, we should be asking you for recommendations, I think, if you're living in Tokyo. I don't know, I mean, I've tried to play a few little games in Japanese from time to time, but I've never really stuck with one like this because this is at my level, you know? 4-year-old. This is nice, I'll admit. Watching the ground fix itself up over time. Satisfying. Oh, there's something over there I didn't get, is there? Looks like... I don't mean the pad, I mean that thing over there. I haven't really been reading the diaries and stuff. It was a bit fatiguing trying to get to grips with the game in Japanese, so I've left a lot of those. I might go through them all at once or something when I'm feeling more up for it. Anyway, this is nice. Just hanging out. This is Hangout stream material, you know what I mean? The Ratchet and Clank 2 fans are going to have to wait a bit longer. Oh, one of my guys was asking for this. There was peach trees up here all along, I didn't know that. This is a nice place, nice little garden. You could put different tree types up here. I don't think these all have to be peaches. Maybe I should plant some other trees here or something. Natsuyasumi games, yeah, maybe I should try one of those at some point as well. I imagine it's a bit more advanced than this though. Oh, the Natsuyasumi things are easier than this. Well, there is... Depends on what you mean, you know, like getting basic grips on this game is not that hard. There is logs and stuff. The human logs can be pretty complicated from the looks of it. Metal. I found out what that's for. You can make stuff. I still don't know exactly how it works. I'm not asking for spoilers in the chat, by the way. Spoiler is an extreme way of phrasing it, but I'm enjoying figuring the mechanics out. You know, it's part of the Japanese language practice, so... We got quite a few viewers in Japan, don't we? Unless it's the same people popping up over and over. Hello! You know, I don't think Dragon Quest is for me, but maybe I should give Dragon Quest Builders a try. Because I'm getting on fairly well with this game. So maybe that's what I should do instead of a mainline Dragon Quest. Yeah, exactly. Playing something you're interested in, I get it, yeah. I reckon you're right. Anyway, I don't want to just turn this into a Pokopia stream. I feel like I'm getting a bit distracted, so... I think Dragon Quest Builders has combat. This doesn't have combat, but this has you building little habitats to make new Pokemon appear. I imagine that's not in Dragon Quest, although I don't know. No, I've never used Wani Canny. Blaming? No, I don't know what that is. Yeah, I actually have some physical Yotsuba books. They are good because each chapter tends to focus on a certain thing, but it's not really my kind of thing, you know. I have Girls' Last Tour as well. The language in that is not that complicated, and so that was much more enjoyable for me to read. I might go back to that and read through that again after I'm finished with this. I think I'm improving a little bit from this. The verb conjugation thing is the biggest thing that I'm missing, because what I kind of heard this concept before, but I don't know, it's been a long time since I actually set my mind to engaging with anything in Japanese. I just kind of, for years I've been having incidental exposure, which has actually, that's the one thing I'd say. I was saying earlier about how watching things with English subtitles doesn't really help. But I think it does kind of help if you already have a foothold. It stops you from like regressing a little bit. Kind of. I feel like somehow my skills haven't atrophied all that much, even though I haven't really been doing anything for years and years. But I forget what I was going to say. I don't know. Okay, whatever. Oh yeah, the verb conjugation thing is the main thing I was missing. Like the tacking on, you know, a helper verb or whatever you want to call it. onto the verb, and then how it's not just a one-part conjugation the way we might think of it in English, you know. I think even Cure Dolly has a video about that I did watch back in the day, but I didn't, yeah. I still haven't fully taken it in, obviously, but I was doing a bit of study on that today. And that helped, I think. I think if this was a house, it's a write-off now, isn't it? This is a nice place here. I wonder if it's based on somewhere in the games or something like that. I have plots here. If it rains, they'll grow, but otherwise it's not really a proper farming setup, but maybe I should plant some stuff there anyway. Why not? Yeah, I had to learn languages in school as well, though, and what I found was doing it by myself. I was convinced when I left school that I didn't have a head for languages, that like somehow I just um, wasn't capable of learning another language or something, but I had a lot more success with Japanese than I did with anything in school, so I think coming at it by yourself makes a difference, even just having that mentality, you know? Well, you never know. Oh, I didn't lower down the TV. Sorry if you've been getting feedback when I talk. Let's try that. Nobody was complaining, so I've lowered it a little bit. It looks like it's not triggering the microphone when I'm not speaking, so that's something. Yeah, audio's fine. Yeah, I'll try and remember to watch this back. But yeah, that's okay if so. I can hear the game fairly well now. Maybe I'll even put it back up. I'll just leave it as it is. I have it higher than I had at the start though. We have a lot of people that live in Japan and a lot of Japanese learners as well. It surprises me. I know that it makes sense that there would be a bias towards that in what they're calling the mathematosis community, you know. But I'm still surprised by the volume of it. Some seeds. What was it? Tane. Oh, that was a field. But again, there's no water source. No consistent water source. Anyway, this is how I see. I have these growing over here. The mathematosis community, you should give us a quirky nickname. It's hard to beat gobshites or gobheads. I wasn't sure which one to use in that Ghouls and Ghosts commentary. I thought I might regret it if I didn't use gobshites, because one of my biggest regrets is in the MGS4 video saying liquid poop instead of liquid shit. I should have said liquid shit. Liquid shit is so much funnier than liquid poop. I don't know. I think that's maybe the only time I ever censored myself on the channel, and I vowed never to do it again. Liquid poop. You fucking joke me. Liquid shit, man. Poop is funnier. You think poop is funnier? No way. Liquid shit. Forgive the image, but it rolls off the tongue, man. Poop is better. I'm surprised. I'm surprised that at least 2 people there think poop is better. Nutcases, the both of you. Liquid uncle. Team poop. No way! It looks like I made the right choice, but no way. Liquid shit. I can kind of see that argument. Shit is more direct and to the point. Poop is funny more because you're holding back. It's kind of aligns with the channel persona, doesn't it? The all business. Like, I have to say this thing, but I'm gonna say it in the most banal, way possible. Something like that. I don't know where the seeds are. I think I have more of them, but I don't know where they are. Amazed how fast my inventory filled up. When you get to the second zone, you get a whole other page of inventory. And I went, grand, that's me sorted for a while, but it's filled back up again. It's crazy. I don't know what to do next. I should hang out in this region so the water keeps fixing things. I should just walk around a bit. We're just walking around to let the rain do its job. I imagine there's a radius around which it doesn't affect things. So we've got to let the rain do its work. We're just hanging out. Didn't play Duskbloods, no, I didn't apply for the network thing or whatever. Oh, somebody asked about, I remember now, somebody asked about the Star Fox remake earlier. Yeah, I don't know, I like Star Fox 64. I was playing it a bit before the remake came out because I got that N64 controller that I've been wanting to get for ages anyway. And so I played it a good bit before the remake came out, and then I played the remake. I like it. I like the game Star Fox in general, 64. I think my appreciation for it has grown. I think, I don't know. When we were talking about it before, I was thinking the N64 controller, the Nintendo Switch Online N64 controller. I was saying that, you know, I'm more of a Sin and Punishment guy, and I would have felt like saying that Star Fox 64 was on the same level was not right, you know, was not in keeping with my experience of them. But now that I've played it more, I don't know. Maybe it is a comparable game. It's just going for a slightly different thing, you know, and I respect what it's going for. I actually kind of think it represents an era of game development that I would like to see more of. I mean, you can't see more of an era. You know what I'm saying? They were making these games and they were pushing out in a more narrative direction, but they were still making an arcade game. So you end up with this fusion of something which is kind of narrative driven, but also an arcade game, and has the structure where you go through different things. I mean, there's other arcade games that are like that, like Outrun, you know, but it has this more narrative focus to it as well, even the original 64 version. So it's kind of blending these two things in a way that I think it actually achieves fairly elegantly, and my respect for it went up a lot, you know. As a pure arcade game, I think Sin and Punishment is still better, but you know, but Sin and Punishment is not without its flaws, you know. I still have never really come to terms with the stage where you're flying around the battleship. It's just some of the camera angles that they put you through just kind of make it unnecessarily difficult to dodge things and understand where your shots are going to go, I think. But maybe I just need to spend more time with it. There's another one I want to play more as well because I have that controller. So I've played both of them a bit since I got it. But anyway, the Star Fox remake. This is by no means my definitive opinion on it or whatever. Oh, the rain has stopped. That's unfortunate. But I thought it was fine. I think some things about it are quite impressive. Like the cutscenes are nice. I also think that this is something that's easy to overlook, but I like that this may have just been a budget constraint because I'm sure it was a pretty small studio, but I like how this worked out, whatever the reason for it is. Most of the new cutscenes they've injected are just them sitting inside the Great Fox in between the missions. And I like that they didn't try to bite off more than they could chew or try to turn it into something that it wasn't, you know. They didn't try to have these kinds of mad cutscenes happening that were supposed to be epic and showing us what's going on, you know. Here's the things we didn't know that was happening or something, you know. It's just they have a discussion in the Great Fox and then we go on to the next thing. And they didn't try to show off unnecessarily, you know. So I think that's good. It was restraint, and it was a good kind of restraint, and it suits the game. And not everything has to be this huge epic thing all the time. And I think some developers would have got the Star Fox IP and been tempted to go in that direction with it, and they didn't, and that's good. There's a lot of things to like, but like any remake, there's some things not to like. I think I'm gonna reserve some thoughts on it. But I think like some of the simplest complaints would be that there's some lines. They kept a lot of the lines, which is good. Again, you don't have to change them all just to say that you did something. Some lines are changed that I don't understand. You know, like Star Wolf's. I think I don't like Star Wolf's new voice as much in general. I kind of felt like they were taking inspiration from the Fox in Space or something with the guy that they cast for him. Maybe it sounds a bit more like that than his original. Um, but you know, you're good, but I'm better. That voice line, they changed it to you. I can't remember what it is in the remake. It's you're good, but I don't know. I don't know what he even says. I mean, that's telling that I don't even know what he says. Why change that? It's perfectly suitable line. You know, even the kind of general meaning of what he says in the new line doesn't really change at all. They just changed it to something less iconic. And I don't really get why they did that. There's a few lines like that in it. On the other hand, there's some stuff that they added that I think was good, and I think I'm on the side that's I don't know if anybody's complaining about this, but I imagine there are some people complaining about this because that's what happens. But I like that they call more attention to the alternate routes. You know, maybe they overdid it a little bit, but they call attention to the ways that you do the new routes. Like, it doesn't really make any sense in the original. At least I don't remember anything that points towards it, you know. But in the original, you just fly under the arches, and then all of a sudden you're going off on a different thing, and that doesn't really make a lot of sense. But they tried to make it makes more sense in this version by having Falco sort of say to Fox, "Hey, we gotta go. I bet you can't do this," sort of thing, you know. And that that was great. The way they contextualized all those alternate routes and stuff was really good. So there was a lot of care put into it. I like how most or all of the cutscenes on the Great Fox transition back into you looking at the map. I like how maybe this was established somewhere in the Star Fox lore that I'm not aware of, because again, I've only really played 64 and the original, so I don't really know any other ones. This has probably been established at some point, I would imagine. Maybe, who knows. But one detail I really liked was how they actually made the map make sense to, like, as much as it reasonably could make sense, you know. And the way you've got Corneria on the left and Venom on the right, if you look at it, you can see that Corneria and Venom are orbiting a different star than most of the other things that you see. Its solar is another star in the system, and lots of the things in the middle are orbiting that instead. And that makes the layout of the solar system make sense, which is pretty cool. I think that's nice. Maybe that was established in some other game first, but that impressed me, honestly. Because it's the kind of thing that when you are... They had to contextualize, why do we go from here to here to here to here to the end of the game, and they were trying to create a more grounded, somewhat more realistic, more believable story, and that was an important detail to actually show, I think, if you want people to understand that this is somehow like a real place, you know what I mean? So there's a lot to like. There's things that I don't like as well. Yeah, I'll just say it. I don't know if I'll ever talk about it in a video. I might put this in a video at some point, but whatever. I'll give you my biggest criticism of it. At least this is what feels to me like the biggest criticism in my mind, at least, because it kind of represents something bad. How do I put this? First of all, we're going to have to spoil the ending of the game, right? And the ending of the game is pretty cool. So, spoilers for the ending of Star Fox 64 and the Star Fox remake. If you haven't played them, go ahead and do it. They're good games. Even the remake, go ahead and play it. You know, I think it might be best if you play the original first. It's a short game. You can play that and then play the remake, you know? It's on the Nintendo Switch. You just need to have the online, which is pretty cheap. Go ahead. But yeah, talking about the ending, I'm probably going to talk about the ending for about 5 minutes at least or something. Anyway, right, so here we go. There is spoilers in Star Fox 64. There is. When you get to the end of the game, that's a moment that you should experience yourself. Okay, I know it's just a stupid little shooting game, but it is sort of a narrative game in that way. All right, here we go. The ending sequence is very different. I mean, there's lots of little petty complaints that you could make. I am not totally sold about the fact that they have the echo effect on the voice and of Fox's father, and but I think I can kind of hand wave that away as, you know, he's like, it's a life or death situation, and it's kind of represents his state of mind where he's not really seeing things clearly, he's not thinking clearly. So you could say that it's maybe too heavy-handed. That's the problem with it. Is it too heavy-handed or not? I honestly don't know. If a player goes through it the first time, will they think that that's too heavy-handed? Will they immediately, spoiler, will they immediately understand that Fox's dad is dead? Or, I mean, it's not 100% confirmed, I suppose, but, you know, he's dead, right? Will they understand that straight away just because of the echo on his voice? I don't know. But also, I also didn't like Andros's delivery very much. I thought that it was not as imposing as the original. The original sounded more calm, and that's actually more imposing. When someone is trying to be, there's this thing that happens that when someone is trying to be intimidating, they kind of don't come across as intimidating a lot of the time, at least for me. I don't know, but here, let me tell you a tiny detail that bothers me about the ending, okay? This is important in my mind. I don't know if it'll be important to anyone else, but I haven't fully fact-checked this. I tried to fact-check it, okay, but I still think that maybe something could have gone wrong with my fact-checking, so I would actually double or triple check this before I would commit to saying that this is a problem. So I would be happy if somebody corrected me on this and I actually turn out to be wrong, okay? But the ending does not actually do exactly what the ending to the original Star Fox does, because Star Fox, one of the great things about Star Fox 64 is that it adapts to what you do, right? That's part of the appeal of it, is if one of your teammates is missing, he's gone, right? If Slippy gets downed, you have to go to Titania, you know, in that boss fight. If you fly under the arches, you go this way. If this happens, that happens, okay? So part of what I find, I'll use the word fuck it, beautiful. Part of what I find beautiful about the game is the way that it honors the interactivity of games by contorting the narrative. I know it's only a little bit, right? It's not Planescape Torment or whatever, right? It's not Disco Elysium or whatever, like, but it contorts the narrative a little bit around what it is that you're doing. I noticed, and I suspected that this was going to be the case before it even came out, but I noticed that there's an ending that you can get in Star Fox 64, which is the best ending, but it's not quite the best ending, because what happens is, if you go in to do the best ending, but Peppy is downed, the ending is different, right? If Peppy is down when you do the ending, what's supposed to happen at the end of the game is they fly up and Star Fox does his charming little head turn, which I talked about before, where he's looking for his father, which is very charming in the original, and the new one, again, as I suspected, doesn't quite capture that. And then what's supposed to happen is Peppy says, "What's wrong, Fox?" And Fox says, "Nothing. Nothing's wrong." And that's the end, okay? But if Peppy's not there, Fox just looks around, and then they fly off, and he says nothing, and we don't understand. Now, that to me is great. That to me is a fantastic detail that should have been preserved in the new version, you know? That just feels important to me as something that shouldn't have been left out. So it's not in the remake. If Peppy is downed, I tried this out. I intentionally got Peppy shot down before the end, and then I went through the ending, but Peppy reappears in the ending so that they can do the ending scene. See, this is the problem that I have with it, is that What was not preserved is that if Peppy is shot down, he still appears in the ending scene, right? Even if he's shot down on Venom 2. So I went into Venom 2 with Peppy, got him shot down. So he should be down and out. He should not be available. He should not be in his R-Wing because his R-Wing is broken. He should be on the Great Fox, right? And then I finished the mission, but when you come back, Peppy is in his R-Wing and talks to Fox. And so he talks to Fox and the ending plays out exactly the way it does before. So for me, that ending is like, it ties into everything that this is why the preamble was important, as long as it was. It ties into everything that I'm saying, is that the game does not honor what's happened to you, right? It instead contorts itself to show you what you are supposed to be shown, instead of showing you the thing that actually happens to you in the game, right? I wouldn't call it aesthetic deception, but it's something not very far removed, right? It's ignoring what's happened to present your own thing. Like, I don't want to be too harsh on it because I can understand why they did it, but also I will nitpick further, and I will say the ending scene in the remake also ends with Peppy says, "What's wrong, Fox?" and Fox says, "Nothing. Nothing's wrong." But then there's more dialogue added, which didn't need to be there, where Peppy says, "You know, your father would be proud of you today, real proud." And Fox says, "I know." And then they fly off. I think it's kind of amazing that a game from, what is it, like 96 or something? Maybe it's different in the Japanese script, right? So, but forget that. First of all, there was English people working on the game, right? Doesn't it have English staff on it, right? So who knows? I don't know where the script originally came from. But the point is, ending on the line, "Nothing's wrong." It has like a double meaning, kind of, doesn't it? Right? Nothing's wrong. Nothing's wrong because he's shrugging off Peppy's statement, right? He doesn't want to talk to Peppy, but also nothing's wrong because he's come to peace with what's happened to his father, right? With this whole situation, he's come to terms with it. So when you say nothing, when you end this whole segment of the game, this part of the story, with the words "nothing's wrong," that's Fox's story has resolved. Okay, nothing's wrong. In other words, nothing's wrong with Fox anymore, right? Because he feels like he can put this father thing to rest. But instead they end with, "Your father would be real proud of you." I know. That's not the way to end the scene. At least not in the... I don't know. So there we go. Spoilers are over. Somebody put in the chat, spoilers are over. I don't know. But yeah, that's what bothered me about the remake. But I understand this is kind of a nitpick, but it's like, I don't know. It reminds me of what I was talking about with Metroid Prime 4 a while back. I was talking about how Metroid Prime 4 made me sad. Okay? I was talking about that because it's a little bit unfair, because again, this also ties into what I was saying about the Zelda fan base, is that like part of anybody's feelings about a game, I think I'm kind of guilty of it, but I actually think a lot of people are a lot more guilty of it than I am, even though presumably a lot of those people are less invested in games in general than I am, so that's a bit strange. But what I'm saying is, a lot of the way people feel about a game is bound up as in like, what do I want to see more of in the future, you know? And that's why I had bad feelings about Metroid Prime 4. It's not like if you sat me down and said, either play Metroid Prime 4 or you're going to die, right? I'll go, oh, okay, you know, oh, okay, right. It's fine. Like, I could play through it again today and it'd be no problem, right? It's not that bad a thing. But the point is that it gets bound up in your feelings of going, why couldn't it have been something else? Is this what Metroid is now? Like, will they ever be able to make a better Metroid game than this? If this is what they're giving me now? It gets tied up in that, right? So that's where my criticism of the Star Fox remake is coming from, is it's tied up in like, you know, this doesn't bode well in that way, you know? It doesn't bode well. It's not, there's something fundamental there about the original that I think was not represented, and that's unfortunate and doesn't really it means that if they carry on, then maybe the spirit of Star Fox 64 won't really be there, you know? Even though I don't think they did a bad job overall with the remake, I don't. I will tell you as well, games are a hard thing to make, and there's a lot to them. And I mean, I've been on the receiving end of this a little bit. My game is not very complicated, so you know, blah blah blah. But I've been on the receiving end a little bit of, which is that people will always find something. So you got to keep that in mind as well. Like, to give you an example with logic bombs is, and I don't mind, right? I'm not complaining about what people said, but before I started doing those patches, where I did end up adding some convenience, some highlighting features, people would say, you know, oh, it would be good if a bomb hits the blue thing, like why shouldn't that be highlighted? Or if, I don't know, if this does, you know, all the things that I addressed, right? Like if a bomb goes over the number of targets it's supposed to hit, then why doesn't it show that? And now it kind of does, right? But then when I added all those things, I can't remember whether it was in a review or on the Steam forum or something, but I got feedback for something that had never been asked for before, right? The thing that I got feedback for was, you know, if two blue things are in the same zone, you know, they should change their state as well, right? So not even doing the flashing thing that's already in the game, but like when two zones are connected to two blue things, the blue thing should be sad or something, right? To show that you've made a mistake. I don't even entirely necessarily disagree with it, right? Like maybe that would be fine. I don't know. I feel like I've done enough for the player. I mean, when I played the game on pen and paper, I didn't have any of this shit, right? And I thought it was fine. So I've done a lot to help the player, and I felt like, okay, I can let that one go. But the point I'm getting at is nobody even asked for that in the beginning because there was other things that they wanted to ask for instead. There was other more pressing things that they thought should be added, right? But then once all those things are added, then the requests turn into the things that you haven't done. And so there's a lot of nice things that could be said about the Star Fox remake, and I'm honing in on the one thing that I think they didn't represent well about the original, you know? So I just want people to bear that in mind. But it doesn't mean I don't feel that way. I do feel that it's a genuine criticism of the remake. Where's this fence? Oh, there it is. What would do well here? Some more fences. I don't know. What do we want? There's no designated place to put an electric pole. Man, I've been talking a lot lately. All these streams, reading out all those things, my throat was a bit sore. How do you feel about the potential Ocarina of Time remake after the Star Fox remake? I feel like they're probably going to play it pretty safe, but it'll be a totally different developer. It seems like Nintendo is doing that remake internally, although it may be a less experienced team. I just hope it's not the main Zelda team doing it, because I don't want their time taken up for it by it, you know? I don't know. I want to get lots of Switch 2 games because I don't know if they're going to be making cartridges after this console, and I'd like to have a nice collection. So I'll probably pick it up. But I don't know, man. I can't say I'm honestly enthusiastic about it. I'm not going to get into spoilers. Somebody said, appreciate the lengths you go to encourage us to be mindful of the reason a choice was made and not just instantly adopt your position. Well, thank you. Yeah, what I will say is, regarding the Star Fox thing, I won't spoil it again, so I'll be vague, but I can understand why, if it was even a decision, it could be an oversight. What I described could be an oversight. I doubt it was because there was lots of things, like I said, the star map being made correct. Like that's a really nice detail, right? Um, so I doubt it was an oversight. I understand the temptation to ensure that the player has a certain experience. But, you know, just part of what I like about games is that they don't ensure that the player has a certain experience, you know? And that's why I feel negatively about it. Don't know what else to do here. I was trying to build this, but it looks pretty shit. Maybe I'll go back to the other region. I don't know what I'm going to do out there either, but, you know, we can go at our own pace, can't we? Off we go. The road is built all the way up to here, although those are wooden staircases. Did I not fix that when I initially built this? That's a bit strange. I wonder if they need maintenance all the time. If they do, that's a huge turn off. But anyway, maybe I just didn't fix it. Or maybe Pokemon only start moving around later. Oh, I think maybe one came from the sea region to here, because I think maybe he was in the Poke part or something. I don't know. Splatoon Raiders or Donkey Kong Bonanza will go to exchange for one of these games soon, but I'm torn on which one. Opinions on which is the most interesting / engaging of the two. I would recommend Bonanza over Raiders. If it has to be either of those two. Interested in Code Veronica. I don't know. I never finished the original. I got deep into it and never finished it. Which one is these? This is the Cabe. Okay. This calls for mouse mode. Can we reach up there? Cannot. I'll put this here. I should put one here maybe. I'll stand on it. If you're interested, Mr. Lamar, I would only recommend it if you're interested, but if you're interested, you should check out Yoshi. I don't know if I can give it a blanket recommendation if it doesn't look like something you might already be interested in, but I would recommend Yoshi over Splatoon Raiders personally. But you should probably play Bonanza though, because Bonanza is the best system showcase. You know, like when you get a new system, you want to see what it can do. And Bonanza is something that when you play it, you just know there's no way this was running on the Switch 1. You know, I know they had a Switch 1 build or something, but it's probably the best system showcase game, if you get me. Those aren't the same up there. I don't think I have access to that tab. This is handy now, the mouse mode. Very smart inclusion for the Switch 2. Gotta say. Do I want to fill this wall up? Oh, I can't get rid of that now anyway, so... Oh, that looks a lot nicer already. How does this fill in? We've got a pillar over here. This pillar here looks superfluous to me. Need to make more videos, fellas. I'm trying, man. Trying. Probably hearing that vibration through the thing, aren't you? I was resting it on the armrest. I don't know, I've always got little things I want to say, but it's gotta be some, like, there's gotta be some reason for you to watch the fucking videos when they go up, you know what I mean? I was interested in the Yoshi game, but was worried the puzzles with the enemies would be fairly straightforward. Does it maintain having interesting enemy interactions? I enjoyed it a lot, let me put it that way. I've only done one playthrough of it. I didn't 100% it. I think this is partly why I've pulled the trigger on a cozy game now, because of how much I enjoyed Yoshi. Let me put it that way. I wouldn't really put it in the same vein as this game or other typical cozy games. But I enjoyed it a lot. And the thing is, I think there's some people who just This is not a mentality I've ever really subscribed to, you know, but if you get hung up on the idea of the that Yoshi is invincible and you can't die, I mean, you basically kind of can die, not very often, but you basically kind of can die because there's bottomless pits in it, not many of them now. But when you fall into them, Yoshi gets redrawn above the bottomless pit. And I mean, what's the difference between that and Mario falling into a hole other than the fact that you don't? You know, it's like, it's just not what they were going for. If you accept that and it looks interesting to you, then if you have as much fun with it as I did, then you will be in for a good time. But it's a little hard to recommend it without talking more about what I think it did well, or just making sure that it's for people who can engage with it in that way. You know what I mean? Um, yeah. There was more to it than I expected, Yoshi. I mean, I don't want to oversell it or overhype you or anything. It is what the trailer show. You go into an area and you interact with creatures and stuff, but it's just a question of whether you like that or not. A lot of you have played Rain World, so let me put it another way. Part of the satisfaction of Rain World is you arrive in an area and you see a blue fruit on the ground and you go, oh, what is this blue thing? You know, it looks kind of like a seed or a fruit or something. I'm not sure what this is. And then you pick it up and you try to eat it, but you can't eat it. And then somehow you experiment with it enough, or just by accident you figure out, oh, that's what it does. Oh, I can use that, you know? If you like that aspect of Rain World, then that's basically what the Yoshi game is about. Now, you can argue whether it's better or worse than Rain World in that one regard, you know, but that's basically what it's about. There's Snorlax or whatever his name was. I haven't shown him, I might as well show him. He's got moss growing all over him. He looks pretty comfy though. Got a flower on his head. Maybe I'm supposed to make the flower bloom. I wonder if I can skip. I'm going to try that. I wonder if I can skip talking to the professor if I just bring over, I think. I worked this out off stream as well, but basically every Pokemon has a trait. So they can all do something. Or most of them can do something at least. You know, a lot of them overlap with each other. But Bulbasaur can make things bloom. I suppose I'll see what this creature is. This looks like a place to rest, I think he was saying. Did you make this? Amazing, thank you. Sono Uchi in this town? No, Machi is town. I don't know, but he's saying let's play together. It's really fun at night, something like that. No, it's okay. You can translate if you like, but it's okay. Komori Pokemon. Ryoho no me ga sonzai shinai. So it doesn't have a certain type of eyes, or maybe it just doesn't have eyes at all. I mean, it doesn't look like it has eyes, but whatever Ryoho no is, it doesn't have those eyes. Sonzai meaning existence, shinai to not have. Kuchikara from its mouth. Choomba. Must be sonar or something like that. It's something about a sound. Dashte emits, comes out from its mouth. Kuchiyami. Maybe echoes? Kuchiyami o Tobi Waru. It flies by that. Something like that. Anyway, wild plume. Oh, Ryoho is a pair. Okay, it doesn't have a pair of eyes. Bit of a strange way to say it. Maybe if you just said main, it would read like it doesn't have an eye, which doesn't work. Be like it's only missing one eye. Anyway. Sai Hana, which I think just means stinky flower. Stinky flower. Sai Hana. Ah, gomen yoko mishichatta. Mishichatteta. Trying not to skip over all those hiragana at the end of things anymore. Okay, mishichattena. Yoso, not Yoko. Okay, bye bye. Kore mite. Mondai nai. Mondai nai. I'm going to be annoyed now if I have to drag him over here and bloom that flower. Been tempted to make videos on more topical stuff even if you don't really want to. Not that I'd like that. I imagine the potential clicks would be tempting. I don't know. The money is kind of tempting. I don't even know if it would bring in that much more money. I suppose it would if I kept at it, but I don't make that much money from YouTube in general. It's nowhere near as much as the Patreon, let me put it that way. So, you know, if that caused the Patreon to go down, then it may not even be... But it would... I don't know. I don't think people would mind all that much. As long as I was being honest, you know, that's what somebody said. I don't know if it was a comment or if it was just on the live stream. Somebody was saying they kind of don't really mind what I do as long as I'm honest, you know. Yeah, I don't know. I think for me, this is partly why I have a problem writing quick saves. Sometimes I've started a bunch of them and then I just kind of drop them because to me it doesn't really feel satisfying to work on something that's just going to be, like, if it's not going to last, you know. It feels kind of like a waste of time to work on something that's nobody's going to care about in a week. Even though there's a lot of stuff out there that you know, I joke about what's the gamer news when we start our stream, what's the gamer news, but at the same time, it's a real job to at least relay this information to people, right? And if somebody wasn't doing that job, then there would be no gamer news. And that doesn't seem ideal, you know? So, yeah, but it's just, I tend to lose motivation when I think I'm working on something that's just disposable in that way. So, but I have kind of daydreamed, I'm still daydreaming about it, of, you know, Matthew's year off, where I just play games and then just talk about them immediately after playing them, you know, put it up on a video, maybe start a new channel, just put it up on a video there, or just put it up as audio on the Patreon. I tried it with, what was it, Wild Bastards. Again, I think maybe part of my problem was just it felt kind of disposable, you know? But I mean, how many games have I talked about on this stream that I certainly haven't made a video about them, right? You wouldn't even know until the stream that I played them. And it's still valuable to play them because I'm accumulating knowledge that I can use to try and help me evaluate other things. And I consider a lot of what I'm doing to be trying to find things that are really worth talking about. And sometimes you have to dig through a lot of stuff to get to that, you know. But I mean, for years I've been kind of tempted to just take a year and just pump out 30 minutes off the cuff, because man, I play a lot of games, you know. If that was the only thing I had to do to earn a living was just to play games and talk about them, I could make a lot of content. Let me put it that way. Like if I just had to talk off the cuff and you were all happy with that, there would be a lot to listen to. But would it be any good? Would it all be disposable? Would it be just kind of subtracting from people's lives? I don't know. Would I feel good about it afterwards? Probably not, but then again, maybe it would help me get other things made that I actually want to make, you know? It's not the worst way to make your living, all right. I still daydream about it, but I've never actually committed to it. But I don't know, we might be reaching a point where I just do that. Because there's a lot of stuff I just can't commit to at the minute, so I don't know. Yeah, the Dark Souls commentary is in a weird place because that one was partly scripted, but the Demon Souls one was entirely unscripted, I think. But I did end up starting to script the Dark Souls video. I think the latter half of it is more scripted than the first half, but there's little bits here and there that are... Yeah, it's tempting. I don't know. I've been daydreaming about it for a long time. Maybe I'll do it. But like I said, I tried it with Wild Bastards. The thing is, if I was doing this, I would want to just do it off the cuff for whatever I play, you know? So it's just like part of the appeal. What I was thinking was, one of the things that I was doing, the reason this idea appealed to me at all in the first place was, one of the things I was doing with the channel was, I was trying not to just select popular games, right? I was trying to find games that I think are worth talking about, which is how you end up with a 5-part Zachtronics review series when your channel is hitting its stride. And by the third video, people are already writing memes in the comments about how this is the endless 8 of video essays or whatever, right? The term video essay probably didn't even exist all the way back then, but even though that's what the last review series I did. This is electronics, and the term video essay didn't exist back then. You know, I was just trying to say, like, it doesn't matter whether this game is big or small or whether people are going to care about it or not if I think that there's something to say about it. It's trying to find an impartiality in what games are selected. But of course, it's not truly impartial because I'm more interested in certain things than others, which is why we've never had a cozy game review, for example. But part of the appeal for me is what's more impartial than just talking about everything you play, you know? There's nothing more impartial than that. You play something and then you just talk about it, whether you have something to say or not, and, you know. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, Gray's on Solus says, I think the balance of the streams and the analytical videos are great as is. We get semi-regular insights into games casually through the streams, plus more evergreen videos on the main channel. I hope it's good for people. I hope the patrons are happy with it as well. I don't even really promote these streams on the Patreon, but I assume most patrons are aware of them. Yeah, the only thing is, there's a lot of stuff that I say that the thing is, it's not packaged in a way that makes a lot of money, right? I mean, you take all the exact same things I just said about the Star Fox remake, and instead you package them into the Star Fox remake video, and that's a lot more. That translates to a lot more success, you know. But part of the reason I feel comfortable talking about things here is because it does feel a bit more casual, even though it does get archived. So I don't know. You get what I'm saying? I'm sure everybody agrees, right? If I just package up all the exact same stuff that I said about the Star Fox remake, but put it into its own little video. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. This is not very cozy right now. I'm not feeling very cozy right now, fellas. How long on average did it take to write and make the thoughts on videos back then? I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. Probably not long. I mean, more than a week though. For each one, probably more than a week. I don't know, man. Part of the problem is I'm just a nutcase, you know? Like, part of the problem with the thoughts on videos is that I have the micro videos thing as well, and that kind of complicates whether or not, you know, do I write this little thoughts on thing, or do I don't even really know how I feel about those videos. I do think there was interesting stuff in some of them. Like maybe more interesting. That's another problem actually, is maybe more interesting than the videos themselves would suggest, you know, because they didn't get watched by as many people, which is understandable because they're on more obscure games and they're shorter videos, which people don't like. People like longer videos. But yeah, I don't know. Whatever. I want to move on from this topic. This always ends up coming up too much on the stream, talking about the job too much. Not sure what to do with this section. Could put all brick down. Meat. Irimitai. So there's a Pokemon somewhere. Irimitai. It looks like a Pokemon. It looks like a Pokemon exists somewhere. It looks like there is a Pokemon somewhere. There's no electricity on this island either. What is the most beautiful game in your opinion? I don't know. I was thinking about this a bit for the last, for the aesthetic deception video, because I talked a little bit about something being beautiful in it, and I was thinking, what should I use for that? And I wanted to make sure it wasn't something that was just high fidelity, because there's a difference, you know. I forget. I ended up showing, yeah, the things that I used to represent beauty in the video, if I recall correctly, were Bayonetta Origins and the Minish Cap, because the Minish Cap has beautiful sprite art in it. Some really beautiful sprite art in that. And like, that's, if you want to talk about professionally made, you know, traditional games from back when indie development wasn't really a thing, that's probably the pinnacle of sprite art right there. The Minish Cap. I don't know that I can think of a sprite art game that looks better than it, honestly. So yeah, there is. I'm not as familiar with fighters. There is some fighters, like I used Darkstalkers and stuff. Is that sprite art? Yeah, it would have been. The backgrounds in particular on those older games are insane, some of them. But what is the most beautiful? Let me take a look at the suggestions. Somebody said Shadow of the Colossus. I don't know. I'll do my little tiny complaint again and just say that sometimes it sucks doing this stuff because, like I said, I captured a lot of footage for The Last Guardian, but I had to move on before doing a full playthrough, and it's never like just playing the game again exactly, because especially for something like the aesthetic deception video, I was looking for very specific things, you know. But man, that made quite an impression on me again when I played it then. I think it's a more beautiful game than Shadow of the Colossus, probably. Shadow of the Colossus does have very nice environments, and there's a, yeah, I don't know. There's like, what I'm getting at is there's kind of a deeper beauty to The Last Guardian, if you know what I mean. It's, there's something, I won't yammer on about this because I've been talking about it lately, but there's something beautiful about, you know, people spending, humans, not AI or whatever, right? But actual people spending so much time, because they must have spent tons of time just studying animals and trying to replicate an animal in that way, on top of all the artistry of the, on top of all the usual sort of Fumito Ueda beautiful isolated strange atmosphere, you know. And there's something just beautiful about the fact that the game was made that way and has the subject matter that it has, you know. If we're talking about raw visuals, you know, I'm not sure that I can shake Bayonetta Origins. It keeps popping up. It's got really nice art direction, and it's paired with really, I don't know that anything in the game is very hard technically, but definitely professional level, shader work and just visual work in general. So that one looks great. Looks really, really great. Mm, most beautiful. Don't know. I haven't seen any suggestions that are better than that. Somebody said Silent Hill 3. I'm more of a Silent Hill 2 guy, but I can see what you mean by the beauty of those games for sure. Vanillaware games, I was thinking of those, I don't know. But you know what I was appreciating? I played 13 Sentinels again a while back, and I'm just trying to be... I'm still trying to sort of level up my mindfulness of things, I'm doing the same thing when I watch films. I'm trying to pay attention to as much stuff as I can, more than ever, and I was paying attention to as much as I could in 13 Sentinels. And one thing that stood out to me this time, the second time around, was just that the menus are really nice. They're not Persona 5 level or whatever, but just that on top of having really nice visuals and having a nice story, and just like Vanillaware just seemed to want to and seem to be able to fire on every cylinder, The menu, you think about the menu in it where it's got the double helix screen, where it's just the spin of the double helix, the part that you're on is highlighted by that pair of things as it spins around, and then the music changes when you go to the left or right of that screen. It changes from red to blue, and the music shifts with it. There's effort in there that really didn't need to be there when you think about what that menu is, or just the main screen as well, where it's got the three windows, the remembrance, and it's got the story, the battle, and the thing, and then as you move you can see that all the things are on like different background layers, so they all have parallax, and the characters are shifting in and out in their position as you move it. It's not the greatest menu ever, right? There's probably tons of menus that are better. But just for the game to generally look so good and sound so good, and to have a somewhat unique battle system, that's just firing on every cylinder, So there's something great about that in my mind. I have played Unicorn Overlord, yeah. I liked it. I think I'd be ready for a replay of that as well, actually. I will say, though, I'm gonna do my old man yelling at Cloud thing again. The character designs are not as appealing to me as in Kamitani's games. I just don't like the anime hair colors. And maybe it's more than that, but yeah, I don't like the anime hair colors. It's just too much for me, personally. I like that Kamitani seems to want to keep it more grounded in his games. Bloodborne is a strong contender. That's a good suggestion, alright. It didn't come to mind. It wasn't on my list, but it is a good suggestion, alright. I mean, they executed on the art direction in that game impeccably. It is... I mean, you just know that they put on screen pretty much exactly what the artists were hoping for, That's a big one. I really thought the menus in Metaphor ReFantazio were stunning. I thought they looked good. I thought the in-game battle menu, from what I remember, looked pretty good. I liked that it had the moon guy in the middle, and then the way it shifted, the way it sort of shifted like a clock as it moved between your and the enemy turn is pretty cool. I think the actual menus themselves were not as good as Persona 5 though. I haven't played the Persona 3 remake, but I looked at the menus of it, and what I'll say is like Persona 5, the menus in the Persona 3 remake seem thematically appropriate in a way that I just wasn't really feeling with Metaphor. I would kind of imagine the Metaphor ReFantazio menu to be more like a book. It might be more orderly, you know, more like the contents table of a book. The problem is that tons of games have done stuff like that, so maybe they felt they couldn't do a good job. Maybe I just wasn't understanding what they were going for. And I can't quite picture it in my mind, so I will say I assume Soejima was the one doing the drawings. I appreciated all the extra texture and detail and stuff he's adding to the characters this time. I just wish I liked the character designs more than I do. But the portraits were way better. So there was definitely things about it that were good. But yeah, the Persona 5 menu and the Persona 3 menu are not just stylistic, but they're also thematically appropriate in a way, right? Because the ocean is tied to the moon, and the ocean is blue, and the ocean maybe evokes another idea as well. Anyway, and Persona 5 is, you know, it's a ransom letter, all the ransom characters and stuff. You've got Joker in the background posing like usual, so that's all great. Thoughts on the new Yoshi's art direction? I really liked it. I think games are overusing the whole stop motion animation style. I don't know what to call it. Low frame rate animation style, you know. But they were supposed to look like clay models in this one, so it really suits. And I really liked it. The only problem is it has some... Unless this was something that they actually put in as a stylistic choice, which I don't think it was. It has some kind of upscaling or blur thing or something with you. Sorry, I was reading that comment there. With you there. I assume you're talking about the stop motion thing. What I was saying was, it's got the stop motion thing. There's some kind of upscaling or something so that, and it doesn't play very nice with the low frame rate animation. So even if you just leave Yoshi idle, you get these kind of blue. I was using blue Yoshi for my playthrough. I took the rare, bold decision to pick the non-default character for a while because I thought the blue Yoshi just looked better. But I was using the blue Yoshi, so I got these blue pixels just lingering there whenever his animation changed. And yeah, it doesn't look good. It's a shame because otherwise the game looks great. I was saying I can't see that in this game, and I think maybe part of why I can't see it is because the stream is 720p, but even my image is 1080p because my capture card doesn't accept anything higher than that. So Jesus Christ, it's 5 o'clock in the morning. I didn't realize. How long have we been going? 3 hours. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna skip all that, whatever. This thing should be built now. Yeah, but that was the only real problem with it. Oh, maybe I have to talk over there or something. I don't know, I skipped all that text. I haven't played Densha Attack, no. I mean, I was vaguely aware of it, but it wasn't really on my radar. It seems like a few of you are enjoying it. So I don't know, I might give it a look. Got the big penguin guy over there, looks like. I feel like I just about barely don't recognize that kanji. Okay. No, I like that they're putting all that effort into their menus because the menus are a big chunk of the game. So I hope that the Persona 6 menu has something going for it, but I don't want it to be exactly like the ones that they've made, you know. It should suit the game. As long as it suits the game, that's good. But it can still look cool. No matter what tone the game is, even if it's a very serious tone, they can still make the menu look cool and interesting in some way without it being tonally inappropriate, you know? Or at least I hope they can. Probably easier said than done, but I imagine that you can do that for any genre. I mean, ultimately it's going to be an RPG, it just might have a horror vibe, or it might have whatever other vibe to it, you know? Yeah, we haven't talked about the GTA leaks. Don't know how many of you have been looking at it. I haven't really looked at it. I did see one clip that looked cool, which was flying in a plane at night. And the lighting looked really good. But I haven't really seen much else from it. I don't know. I reckon it'll be a good game, but I probably won't be buying it day one. And I don't know. I'm just not really... Yeah, I never played Red Dead Redemption 2, so I'd rather play that first. Like I said, I was waiting for a PS5 version and that's never arrived, so I'm still waiting. Be waiting so long they won't even make a disc for it anymore. Keep running out of bollards. Oh, I put the wrong bricks on that bridge. I mean, there's no wrong ones exactly, but those ones look better. They match up better than those ones that I put on. Yeah, I wonder if there's some publishers that will want to push to try and get their game out before the disc production ends. But then again, maybe they said no more after after 2027. So I wonder what happens. What happens if you release a game in November? Oh no, after 2027, right? So is it after 2027? They're still doing them next year, isn't it? They gave a pretty long heads up at least, right? So I wonder what happens if you release your game in October 2027, let's say. Do you make discs? Can you make discs and then do the discs immediately get discontinued in the start of 2028, or will they at least... Okay, are you sure about that? Someone says they will still reprint old PS5 games, just no new games. I'm not sure about that. January 1st, 2028 is the cutoff. I'm not sure about that. I don't think there'll be any reprints. I think companies are doing less reprints in general because there's still relatively mainstream games that are actually kind of difficult to get sometimes. They're not always in stock, you know? Pokemon kanji is over there. Pokemon Kenhayo kanji. That Pokemon feel. Okay. Egg. A few eggs. That's all we had to do for that one. Oh yeah, there's a part of the game that I wasn't engaging with. I only figured it out. Maybe it was earlier today, I don't know, but basically, I'll just show it. Please don't show me a big, huge tutorial or something. Bulba. Yeah, when you go to the shop. Yeah, we have more stuff. Okay, or we've restocked on something, whatever. Utsukushi hana no tane ko set. Okay, it doesn't describe what kind of flower. They're the same description. Utsukushi hana no tane. I don't know, 5 ko set. If you come down here, I was ignoring all these because they just look like grass, right? But what they are is they're hints. You can see all of them end in hinto. And they tell you how to make habitats. If you buy one, you get the little picture of a habitat that you probably haven't made yet. But what I was thinking was it might be fun to try and just work out what the habitats are by reading it, you know? So this one says, Oki na tatemono no nosete o tsukuru hinto. So it means a big building. I think it means on top of a big building. And then how to make, you know, a hint about how to make it. So maybe this is a bird or something. And if you put a little nest on top of a building, then that's a habitat somehow. Though maybe they expect you to buy all these hints because they're very specific about the objects. I was testing it and I had to put that bench down next to the punching bag to get Hitmonchan or Hitmonlee, whatever one it was. And if you move the bench even one tile away, it doesn't count. So they're very specific. So maybe I'll have to buy those hints. But I was thinking that might be a fun thing to do, to try and parse the language and do them that way, you know? That's a good question, Yark. Do you think we will see an uptick in people coveting older consoles with less restrictive ownership limitations once more and more consoles forgo discs for exclusively digital? I think it'll definitely be a value to older consoles that you won't find on newer ones. It's hard to argue against that, you know. There will be a certain subset of people for whom they are, I don't know, maybe they're being born right now, you know, and however passionate you think you are about games, you know, give it 10, 15, 20 years. There'll be people who are born now that are just as passionate as you or I, hopefully. And they'll have missed out on this and they will probably be yearning for something like that. And it'll be a thing that they can only really get from those older consoles, you know. So I imagine that is a big value add for a certain subset of people. How many people that is, I don't know. But I think another thing to bear in mind is the component costs. I mean, it's unclear whether component costs are ever going to go down. So I just don't know. I don't know about I think maybe we might also see an uptick in people, you know, sorry, I smacked the microphone by mistake. Just talking about and caring about older games a bit more because, or, you know, less graphically intensive games. Being on the cutting edge of graphical intensity is, it may become out of reach for many people, you know. That's not the future I want, but that may be what comes to pass. And so we may see more activity around games that don't require that kind of stuff. And so things will become kind of split up, which, you know, not really ideal, but it's something to think about. It's a way that things may differ in the future about how we talk about games than we do now. Maybe I'm wrong, but haven't DVDs and Blu-rays become trendy since people are tired of streaming? Can definitely see the same happening with games. I think, I could be wrong about this, but I think part of the problem there is for the PlayStation, they're discontinuing the discs. I don't think there is any other way to make a PlayStation disc other than to go through Sony. So it's not something that some company can just do. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. And people make cartridges for older consoles now. But I think maybe that was always possible. You know, I think that happened back with Electronic Arts back in the day. They actually went around Sega or Nintendo or something and made their own cartridges, something like that, even back then. So that was always technically possible. Is it even technically possible? I mean, anything's technically possible with enough money and know-how, you know. Anything Sony can do, you can do with $1 billion. But setting that aside, is it actually feasible for some company to come along and produce PlayStation discs? That's a question I don't know the answer to, and I think it might be no. There's still new consoles being made that do accept physical media, like the analog consoles. So hopefully stuff like that still keeps getting made and people make physical media for them as well, you know? In the future, everybody will be playing Logic Bombs on cartridges. In the future. Yeah, I made Logic Bombs on the Pocket, so there's that. That's mostly where I tested it. I understand the desire for physical media. I feel it too. Like I was saying, I would like to buy up some more Switch 2 games while I still have the opportunity. have a nice collection that I don't feel regrets about years later. The way I regretted not getting that Tomorrow Children footage back in the day, or maybe one day I'll regret not signing up for PSN to get that marathon footage while the free trial was on. But what the fuck, Sony? Seriously, man. Anyway, I understand it, but at the same time, the games still exist as long as there's some kind of DRM free version or something. The games are still out there. Thank you, Niles. Thank you. Well, I won't deny, of course, there's a possibility that we move to the streaming only future, which creates some pretty big problems in terms of being able to play whatever you want, whenever you want. The streaming, thinking about it now, the streaming only future represents a much bigger problem for games than it does for any other media, doesn't it? Because if you stream a piece of music or a film or something, you can, I mean, they try to stop that. They use HDCP and stuff to try and stop people from recording what they're going through, but it's possible. You could, in theory, what you could do is just put Netflix on and then cam rip your own Netflix, I don't know if anybody's ever done that. But if you're really determined to try and create your own physical copy of something that's on a streaming service, it's much easier to do with linear media than it is with a game, isn't it? So when a game is transmitted in a stream, there's a crucial part of the game which isn't transmitted to you, which isn't really true of music or film, so that's a pretty big problem, all right. Oh yeah, I can't cut this and I don't know why. Maybe there's a quest here later or something. It just says can't do it now. A stream-only future would be the worst outcome by my reckoning. Have you considered a future where you don't get to play games at all? Because someone has. I mean, given that we already have so many existing games, it would be very tough to create that future. I'm being a bit cheeky, being cheeky. But at the same time, there is a possibility or some kind of way of picturing it where games become something that only very wealthy people can engage in. I mean, if you move to the streaming only future and then you create games that need to run on a supercomputer, then those games, even if you stream them, then those games may only be for people who are extremely wealthy. And maybe extremely wealthy people want games that only they can play. Makes them feel good or something, I don't know. Thank you, Ballbug. Appreciate it. I'm always going to think it's a shame not to have a collection of discs for all my games post PS5. Those box arts are always cool, and having a physical copy is just neat. New kids won't know the feeling. Yeah, I like good box art. You would think that with physical kind of being on the out, that maybe they would have put more effort into the box art lately, because I don't know, I've always liked artsier looking box art. I suppose that doesn't come as a surprise to anybody. You know, is it the European version of Resident Evil 4 that has the forest and just the chainsaw guy in the forest? It's just a cool looking cover, you know. Um, but yeah, I mean the manuals are already gone though. You know, that's a big thing that's already gone. It does feel. I like the Switch cartridges because they feel more solid. You know, so there's something about that that feels more solid to me. But I mean, I still do feel a little twinge of disappointment when I open the box and there's just this tiny little cartridge in the box and nothing else. Really? Could even just have like one little sheet that's just a little piece of art, a little art card. Wouldn't that be nice if just one page, a one-page double-sided art card of some kind that you could collect with each game that you get? I mean, surely that wouldn't break the bank, right? Probably they already have art like that sitting around somewhere. Some artist to be happy to throw it on a card. Put it in the box. Really? Anyway, let's look out in the ocean. I should probably ramp up soon. How cozy are we feeling here as we contemplate the end of all things games? This is me with my head in the clouds as usual. I'll hang around for a minute. I'm not dropping out just yet. But I'll finish up soon. Thanks, bro. Appreciate it. I don't think I've ever gotten yen before, so there's some novelty in that and an appropriate stream to do it on as well. I might be wrong, but I don't think I've ever gotten yen. I will not be playing GTA 6 on release, most likely. I've nothing against it really. I'm not exactly keen to jump in. There'll be other games to play later in the year if I'm up for it. I mean, let's say Order of the Sinking Star comes out on October 8th, I think. And I mean, that might keep me busy long enough that GTA will be out. I don't know. Depends on how long it takes. Order of the Stinking Star. It does kind of, I don't know, that does roll off the tongue easier. No, I didn't want to use that expression again after using it earlier. But it is a bit of an awkward name to say. I don't know. I like that it's not a, I don't know. I think it's a fine name though. See you later, bro. Reject AAA, embrace Sokoban. Yeah, I don't even know if I'm looking forward to it. I don't know if I'm gonna love it, honestly, but I'm looking forward to it. I really want something substantial to sink into. I mean, I've spent a lot of time in this game, but it doesn't. I still would say I'm not convinced it's time well spent, you know. But it's easy playing, I'll give it that. It's easy to sink a lot of hours in and be comfortable but at least if you're playing a really long game that has lots of puzzles in it, you know. I just hope that I don't feel the need to put it down all the time. There was that one puzzle that worried me, that kind of annoyed me, where it took loads of moves. I don't know, I might get a bit fed up and want to put it down. But we'll see. Yeah, I wonder when Jai is coming out anyway. I don't know if it's coming out at the same time. It might be a bit afterwards. Maybe I'll take that for a spin as well. I don't know that much about it, Jai, I mean. But if anybody's curious, I just don't want the Switch to go to sleep or something. So that's why I move them every once in a while. Because then the capture card might shut off, you know. I don't know. I don't know how long that would take, so that's why I move them every once in a while. What was I saying? Yeah. I don't know. I used C++ for logic bombs, but I don't really use the C++ features because lots of the libraries and stuff are object orientated, at least if I remember right. It's already been months. I don't know. The libraries and stuff are kind of like, they don't fit with the style of code that I'm trying to write, so it's kind of a mess. Like if I have to use a string and then I'm using this thing that just looks totally different from all the stuff that I actually write myself, then it's annoying, you know. So if Jai helps me avoid that problem and create a more seamless sort of thing, that'd be nice. Thank you, Tyler. I appreciate it. Things are not that bleak. I don't want to end on a downer. How is it ending on a downer? Go away. Go away. Stinky bastard. Vile plume. What was it again? Kusai Hana. Anyway. Oh, we've got another Pokemon kanji here. Just put a load of trash together for the Magnetron. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it. Norwegian crowns. I had to look at all these currencies while I was setting up the price for logic bombs, but I don't remember most of them now. I've got viewers all over the shop. I don't think I'll be streaming any Ghosts and Goblins. Not in the near future. Maybe I could do it again later. I don't actually see this happening, but I figure I should at least investigate the possibility of doing a 1 credit clear on Super Ghouls and Ghosts and seeing how I feel about it, and maybe turning, you know, doing another commentary. But I think one commentary on that series is enough. Or if I was going to do another one, I'd probably want to do it on Resurrection instead. I think trying to turn it into a commentary series for the sake of it would not be. Uh, it's not what I want to do, but it's at least something I should investigate, you know? So. But I don't think I want to do. I don't think I want to try and 1cc Super anytime soon. Yeah, I still don't like the auto scrollers in Super. Maybe I'll come to terms with them. This was something that I cut from the Ghouls and Ghosts commentary, but they wanted to have different routes in the game in Ghouls and Ghosts. It's not clear entirely how they wanted to do that. It seems like maybe they meant something kind of like Resurrection, where you select one level or another. And then the idea was that on the second loop you had to take the other path, which sounds pretty cool. It's surprising they didn't do that in Resurrection, actually. But apparently one of the levels that was cut was that water level from Ghouls and Ghosts. That was originally in Ghouls and Ghosts, but it got cut because they didn't have the space or they didn't have time to finish it or something. So I think the game is actually better with that cut, you know. I'm big in Australia. Cool. There's the proof right afterwards. Hello. Aussie friends. People have flags of me there. Amazing. May I see these flags? I don't believe you. Somehow I don't believe you. Yeah, Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection commentary would be cool. But I don't want to do a commentary just for the sake of it. The problem is those games are all they're all actually fairly different. That's an argument in favor of it. They are actually fairly different from each other. But they all are kind of doing the same thing, you know, at the same time. They're not that different. It's not like going from one Zelda game to another or something, you know. So I don't know if there would be enough topics to get into for it. This town's finished. This is a damn curse. Away! Away! I think my favorite is was it? You won't last long. You won't last long. In Yarnum now. I don't know why you said that a minute ago, but I was just quoting someone from the chat. I'm not a Witcher guy. I haven't played any Witcher games. If you're trying to motivate me, Hannah, it's working. Oh yeah, you plague-ridden rat! Yeah, I've done more than one video on certain games as well. You know, there's the wonderful one-on-one review and recommendation. I can't remember what else. Well, initially, this Zachtronics thing was just a space game recommendation as well, and then I went on to review it. I don't know how often that's happened, but I have done that before. Maybe I'll do it again. Maybe. I don't know. I was thinking, was I working on something that was about a game I already talked about? I don't know. I don't remember. I don't remember anything. Yeah, me too, Axel. Me too. Someday. This is, instead of cozy gaming, I should be practicing Bayonetta. I should be practicing Bayonetta. That's the lesson we're learning here. Going all in on Bayonetta. I'm all in. If I've never played a Ghosts and Goblins game, should I start with Legend difficulty with Resurrection? I say go for it, honestly. Most people would probably say no, but just be aware that um, just be aware that it's not going to be easy. To put it mildly, it's not going to be easy. Um, yeah, I mean, I wasn't. I had definitely played a lot of Ghouls and Ghosts before then, and some Super Ghouls and Ghosts, but I wouldn't say I was especially good at them before playing Resurrection. You know, I couldn't 1cc Ghouls and Ghosts the way I can now, for example. Um, it's absolutely brutal, but it's fun. Yeah, there's an example. I tried and never made it to the first checkpoint. That's understandable. That's understandable. But you either find fun in the struggle and in what you're doing moment to moment as you play it, or you don't. You know. Um, yeah. Devil May Cry's anniversary today. That's mad. 25 years, isn't it? That's my thinking, Tyler, as well. G&G is hard no matter what, so why rob yourself of playing it on Legend for the first time? Exactly, you might as well go all in. At least try it on Legend and you can roll back later if you want, but you know what you're getting into, right? So at least go all in and just see what they're asking of you. Like if you can't play it, you'll probably you should at least find it funny. If you're struggling, if you're struggling to a certain degree, you will probably find some humor in the struggle, and that's part of what the game is about as well. I think, you know. Oh, I believe you, Indigo. I mean, it's tough. It's tough. Very tough. Part of it though is it just is different from a lot of other action games, and part of what makes it different is part of what makes it appealing. And if you're coming at it, you may just be coming at it with the wrong attitude, you know. And I think part of the brick wall that people run into in the beginning. Let me put it this way: Resurrection is probably the hardest one of the lot, and it's already a hard series. So starting out on Legend, it shouldn't be surprising if you have difficulty. But part of the difficulty that you run into, whether you play Ghouls and Ghosts, which is much easier, or Resurrection, is just your attitude and just adjusting to what the game wants from you, you know. And then once you've gone through that adjustment, then maybe you'll see, I don't know how far you got with it, but I'm just talking in general for other people who are maybe on the fence. Maybe you'll see something in it that you aren't finding in other games, or aren't finding to the same degree in other games. That's partly what I like about the series, you know. I have played some of Ultimate Ghosts, yeah. I'm coming right off the, well, it's been a while now, you know, but I'm coming off the Ghouls and Ghosts commentary, so I wanted to give it a break a little bit, but it's one of the games that I'm want to get through soon, but I've played a little bit of it. It's, from what I've played, it's definitely hard, but it's still not quite as hard as Resurrection. But probably one of the harder entries, alright. It might be, I think maybe, I'm still very early days with it. Maybe when you get more comfortable with it, it might actually be easier than Super Ghouls and Ghosts, but I'm not sure. But it seems like Resurrection is the hardest. So if you play Resurrection on Legend, you're walking into a brick wall. But when you walk into it enough times, you come to love the wall and what the wall is asking for you, of you, you know? Yeah, that was Ghouls and Ghosts, so Paul Book, and that one's much easier than Resurrection. It's still hard, though, to be fair. They gave you tendinitis, so that's a shame. It's a shame. I know the pain. Mine has still never fully gone away, but I've never taken this. I've probably never taken a sufficiently long break from games. But doesn't hurt. Like if I focus on it, I can feel a twinge in my right wrist right now. So I don't know. If you've only just got it, then you probably want to rest. I don't think mine is ever going to go away now. But hey, what else are you going to use your hands for other than playing some sick games, you know what I mean? Ninja Gaiden's still on the backlog, unfortunately. I don't do hand exercises. Is that a joke, or is that I don't even know if that's a real thing. I don't do hand exercises. I should get one of those grippy things though. If that's what you mean, I think I might enjoy using it. Okay, maybe I'll look at hand stretches and stuff. They are real and help a lot. Okay. Alright, I'll take that into account. Let's see. We'll see about this. Alright, everyone. I think I'm going to wrap it up. Oh no, potato. Showing up at the last second. There's always somebody showing up at the last second. Right, everybody. That's going to be it for me. Appreciate it. And I hope this was better. I know the other Pokopia streams weren't to most people's taste, so I hope this one was more palatable. And I'm not sure when I'll be back. But, you know, I pop up when I pop up. I'm like a cryptid. I was going to say Pokemon, but I'm not really like a Pokemon. I'm more like a cryptid. So you'll see me when you see me. Bye, everyone.